Chapter 2298. Lin Tian took a step forward. Divine chains of order surrounded him, and the sacred shadow of order propped up. They combined and formed a storm. Huang Chuanyi's eyes were cold. The bloody holes formed by the sacred shadow of order corroded everything and bombarded Lin Tian. Boom! An intense battle ensued. The destructive aura was rampant. Time passed quickly. Lin Tian and Huang Chuanyi fought. In the blink of an eye, more than an hour had passed. In this place, space after space collapsed and was then corroded and annihilated by Huang Chuanyi's sacred shadow of order. Lin Tian's eyes were deep. He still didn't use the Eye of Destiny. With his peak void transformation stage cultivation and the 4th stage order, he faced the 5th stage order of Huang Chuanyi. The two sides collided again and again, shaking the surroundings. Huang Chuanyi's eyes were even colder. Even now, Lin Tian still didn't use the Eye of Destiny. With his peak void transformation stage cultivation and the 4th stage order fighting him, he felt that he was being underestimated. His eyes gradually became cruel. Then, with a rumble, the bloody holes of order became even more terrifying. They corroded the greater void, and even the order and air were corroded. Chi! 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 Soft sounds rang out. Lin Tian wasn't afraid. He still faced it head-on, using the 4th stage order to fight. He used the 4th stage order to fight against the 5th stage order of Huang Chuanyi. He sensed the other's sacred shadow of order and used the sacred shadow of order to stimulate the growth of his sacred shadow of order. Daddy's sacred shadow of order is getting stronger and stronger. It seems to be getting closer and closer to the 5th stage order. Ruoxian stared ahead. Wu Yi, Jiyu, Baiqiu, Shuiyi, Sushu, Lin Shi, and the Violet Fairy all stared seriously. Outside Lin Tian's body, the divine chains of order gradually became stronger. The aura of the sacred shadow of order became even more vast. He used order to fight against Huang Chuanyi, using his body to withstand his opponent's order blood hole. He used his flesh to feel the power of the order blood hole, analyzing and sensing it. His eyes became deeper and deeper as his comprehension of order became more and more thorough. Huang Quan used the 5th stage of order to attack. The blood holes were densely packed, and as he moved, they pressed down on Lin Tian again and again. In front of these blood holes, the solid void of the great world was like a piece of paper, extremely fragile. Boom! 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 The aura of order surged, and the aura of destruction fluctuated. In the blink of an eye, another hour passed. More than an hour later, Lin Tian's body was covered in blood. He had been injured again and again. However, his eyes had become even more profound. One could faintly see stars revolving around him. The aura of order around his body had become even more shocking. At the same time, a cold light flashed in Huang Chuanyi's eyes. He finally realized that Lin Tian was using his power of order to refine himself. "You're courting death." His voice was cold. Huang Quan raised his hand, and his saint power erupted. All the order blood holes trembled and became larger. There were more of them, and their aura became more terrifying. Their speed became faster, and they pressed down on Lin Tian with a suppressive force. With a boom, tens of thousands of blood holes fell on Lin Tian's body in an instant. The void there was completely corroded on the spot. The light of destruction. With a sizzling sound, Lin Tian was hit by all the order blood holes. His body became a bloody mess, and every corner of his body was covered with cracks. It was as if a gentle breeze could blow his body into pieces. However, it was also at this moment that the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He smiled at this moment, and the injuries on his body began to heal quickly. An extremely powerful aura of order suddenly erupted, as if a volcano of order that had been dormant for tens of thousands of years had erupted. "I'll return your order to you," he sneered. Suddenly, dense sacred runes appeared on his body. They were mysterious and unfathomable. They were completely condensed from the power of order. He directly punched at Huang Chuanyi. Boom! A glaring fist shot out from the tip of his fist. In an instant, It pierced through the great void and came close to Huang Quan. This punch was extremely terrifying, and its aura was extremely magnificent. Poof! Blood splattered. Huang Quan was directly penetrated, and a transparent bloody hole appeared on his body. Then, with the bloody hole as the center, his body began to corrode bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, his entire body turned into blood. This is corrosive power, Huang Quan's own Order God power, and it's even stronger than Huang Quan's previous attack. Ruoxian, Jiyu, and the others were all shocked. Lin Tian's punch actually blasted out the Order God power that belonged to Huang Quan. Moreover, it was obviously stronger than the Order God power that Huang Quan had displayed himself. It was about twice as strong. 5th stage order. He's reached it. Wu Yi's eyes lit up a little. He looked at the strands of Order Saint runes outside Lin Tian's body. Return all the offensive power that others have exerted on your body back to the opponent in double. Wang. On the battlefield, the Order Saint runes outside Lin Tian's body interweaved, sacred and vast. His mangled body began to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it was back to normal. All right. He clenched his fist, and a bright light appeared in his eyes. Without using the Eye of Destiny, he faced Huang Quan with his cultivation at the peak of the Void Transformation stage and the Order of the 4th stage. Borrowing the pressure of the 5th stage order, he finally broke through the limits of his own order and reached the peak of order. He evolved an Order God power that belonged to him alone. He could melt and precipitate all the offensive power that others had thrown at him, whether it was Sword Light, Fist Light, or the Order of Tao power, and so on. He transformed them into his own power and blasted them out with double the power. Absolute counterattack. He muttered to himself. It was very appropriate to give such a name to the Order God power that he had evolved. Golyulu. The sound of flesh and blood squirming could be heard. Huang Quan's body was corroded into a bloody mist. Even his soul was greatly damaged. At this moment, he was severely injured. However, his body and soul were not destroyed. At this moment, he reformed his body. You! He looked at Lin Tian, his eyes full of shock and disbelief. Just now, Lin Tian had displayed the same Order God power as him. Moreover, the power was even stronger than his. This was hard for him to understand. However, as the divine son of the Yellow Springs clan, he was not an ordinary person. At this moment, looking at Lin Tian and the Order Saint runes outside Lin Tian's body, he quickly guessed many things. The Order of the 5th stage. You evolved an Order God power. Just now, was it related to your Order God power? His voice was cold. Lin Tian had used his power to transform. At this moment, he had cultivated to the 5th stage of order and evolved an Order God power. He could use his power to attack him, and the power was doubled. Chapter 2299. Divine Chains of Order and Saint Runes of Order intertwined around him. Lin Tian stepped forward and arrived in front of Huang Quan in the blink of an eye. Dense Saint Runes of Order surrounded his body. Divine Chains of Order bombarded his opponent like heavenly dragons. Huang Quan reformed his body. At this time, his face was extremely pale. All the power of order that Lin Tian used to return to his body twice as much had suffered an unimaginable injury with just one blow. His essence, energy, and spirit had decreased greatly. Reincarnation body. His voice was cold as the blood holes of order opened up once again, pressing down on Lin Tian in a mighty manner. Lin Tian's eyes were deep and cold. With his peak void transformation stage cultivation base, he faced Huang Quan, who was at the early stage of the absolute void stage. He fought with pure order power, erupting with pure holy light. Huang Quan's blood holes of order fell beside him again and again. Outside his body, the Saint Runes of Order were a manifestation of his divine ability of order. They could infinitely weaken the power of order. Although the blood holes of order that Huang Quan summoned were terrifying and had a terrifying corrosive power, they were blocked by the Saint Runes of Order outside his body time and time again. Moreover, while blocking these blood holes of order, The corrosive power of the blood holes of order was also smelted at the same time. In the blink of an eye, another hour passed. Absolute return. After an hour, Lin Tian opened his mouth and once again summoned his divine ability of order. With a rumble, he raised his hand. With a simple punch, an unparalleled destructive and corrosive power erupted. This was all of Huang Quan Yi's killing power that had attacked him an hour ago. After being refined by his divine power of order, he returned it with double the power at this moment. The blinding light of the fist pierced through the sky and shattered Huang Quan Yi once again with a poof. Blood splattered all over the sky. Huang Quan Yi only had his soul left. He was shocked and angry. He was at the early stage of the Absolute Void stage and was one of the 10 great divine children of the Huang Quan clan. But now, he was actually injured to this extent by a human at the peak of the Void transformation stage. At this moment, his essence, energy, and spirit had weakened to the lowest point. His soul was full of cracks, and he even lost the ability to reform his body. He was severely injured. What made him even angrier was that it was his own power that had injured him to this extent. Next time, I will definitely suppress you. Lin Tian's Order Divine ability shocked and enraged him. Not only could it infinitely weaken his Order Divine ability, but it could also refine all of his offensive power and return it back twice as much. It was simply unfathomable. Now, his order was completely ineffective in front of Lin Tian's order ability. His voice was cold. After he said those words, he turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, he was tens of thousands of feet away. Lin Tianling snorted and took a step forward. In an instant, he stopped the other party, and the reincarnation diagram of the king's territory pressed down mightily. For a moment, the aura of holiness and majesty intertwined, directly enveloping Huang Chuanyi. "Break!" Huang Chuanyi roared, and the power of order vibrated, trying to shake off the reincarnation diagram. However, it was useless. As Lin Tian comprehended the order to the 5th level, his combat power became even stronger, and Wang Yu naturally became more domineering. Besides, Huang Chuanyi himself was severely injured, and at this moment, he couldn't break the reincarnation diagram at all. "Father, you're amazing." In the distance, Ruoxian's eyes lit up. "It's really amazing." The Violet Fairy also spoke. Lin Tian didn't need to use the Eye of Destiny. With his cultivation level at the peak of the Void transformation stage, he fought against the 10th divine son of the Great Void stage of the Yellow Spring clan. He didn't even suffer any serious injuries. His battle prowess was really shocking. His order ability is a little terrifying. At times, it might even be stronger than the Eye of Destiny. Jiyu said, "Yes." Wu Yi also spoke up to confirm. Not only could it infinitely weaken the order of others, but it could also refine all the offensive power of others and return it twice. At times, this ability might really be stronger than the Eye of Destiny. It was a huge variable. Boom! The Saint energy was astonishing. Huang Chuanyi struggled violently under the reincarnation diagram, bursting out balls of dazzling Saint light. However, it was useless. The Saint light looked dazzling, but in fact, it didn't have much power. It was shattered by Lin Tian's reincarnation diagram in the blink of an eye. Then, the reincarnation diagram shook again and completely suppressed his divine soul. "Reincarnation body, let go!" Huang Chuanyi roared. Lin Tian snorted. The reincarnation god slaying technique was activated, and an invisible killing power fell directly on Huang Chuanyi's divine soul. This killing power targeted the divine soul. It immediately made Huang Chuanyi's divine soul tremble violently, and he couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. At this moment, Lin Tian released a strand of divine thought and directly entered Huang Chuanyi's divine soul to forcefully search his divine soul. He wanted to know who were the 50% of the Yellow Spring race's fighting force that had entered this universe and where they had set up camp after they had entered this universe. Moreover, he also wanted to know the general situation of the 9 hells, underworld, and Rakshasa forces that had entered this universe. "Get out!" Huang Chuanyi naturally felt that Lin Tian was searching his divine soul. He immediately roared, and his divine soul trembled, releasing endless soul light. At this moment, his divine soul fiercely rejected Lin Tian's divine thought. Lin Tian snorted and released the reincarnation god-slaying technique again. The invisible killing power fell on Huang Chuanyi's divine soul again, causing Huang Chuanyi's divine soul to tremble violently, and he couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. The repulsive force against the divine thought of the divine soul that he sacrificed into Huang Chuanyi's divine soul weakened countless times, allowing him to successfully search his divine soul. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. After dozens of breaths, his divine thought of the divine soul withdrew from Huang Chuanyi's divine soul. Huang Chuanyi roared, "Human, how dare you?" Lin Tian didn't say anything to him. The reincarnation diagram mercilessly pressed down, directly interrupting Huang Chuanyi's next words and directly crushing his divine soul with a poof. After searching Huang Chuanyi's divine soul, he learned a lot. In this clan, apart from Huang Chuanyi, the 10th divine son, the other 9 divine sons had also come together. They were now searching for something in an ancient relic. The most powerful of them, the first divine son, was at the peak of the Great Void stage. In addition, there were many other people from this clan who had killed their way into this universe. They were led by 10 supreme elders of the Path Fusion realm, and all of them were very terrifying. At the same time, he also found out where the temporary battle camp of the Yellow Spring clan in this universe was. As for the 9 Nether bloodline, the Underworld bloodline, and the Rakshasa bloodline, there were naturally more people who had killed their way into this universe. Like the Yellow Spring clan, each of the major clans also had 10 divine sons. Their combat strength was similar to the 10 divine sons of the Yellow Spring clan, and they had all killed their way into this universe. Moreover, these divine sons of these 3 major clans seemed to know about him. Everyone was now searching for his traces. On the other hand, the strongest experts of these 3 major clans who had killed their way into this universe were also at the Path Fusion realm. However, their numbers were slightly more than that of the Yellow Spring clan. The 3 major clans had roughly 20 Path Fusion realm existences who had killed their way into this universe. He paused for a moment, then simply told this matter to Wu Yi and the others. For a moment, the group was a little solemn. Compared to the great destruction of the Xianhuang universe and the primordial universe, the combat strength of the Celestial Court was much stronger. Chapter 2300. The Celestial Court had invaded the primordial universe and started the great destruction of the primordial universe. Now, this part of the universe was considered the safest place. Even so, he was still worried about some of his friends in the universe. Zhang Luluo lived on the Eternity Ancient Star and had fought together with Ji Yu and the others. Now that the great destruction was coming, he didn't want anything to happen to that girl. He asked Wu Yi to follow Ji Yu and the others to bring Zhang Luluo to the 10-directional Ancient Star. In this part of the universe, the 10-directional Ancient Star could be said to be the safest place and the strongest fortress. He was going to the Immortal region, and Shui Shui, Ning Yiye, and I Yao Yao, and Elder Gu of the Lord Theological Seminary were all in the Immortal region. They were either his friends or had helped him in the past. Now that the great destruction was coming, he was worried about them. After that, he still had to go to another desolate world. In the past, he had been framed by someone and lost all his cultivation, falling into that desolate world. He had lived in a small village in that world for 10 whole years. He was extremely familiar with the people in that village, and he had taught many people how to cultivate. He did not want those people to suffer in the great devastation. As for Chun Lin on the Milky Way Imperial planet, he didn't have to worry about her. Under his orders, Yi Tong and the little fox had already set up dozens of branches of the Celestial Lyceum on the ancient planet. Many powerful immortal generals of the Celestial Lyceum were stationed outside the ancient planet to protect it. Most importantly, he and Wu Yi had worked together to set up a boundless killing array of order. Even an early-stage Dao fusion existence wouldn't be able to do anything to that place. "Be careful," Wu Yi said to him. Lin Tian nodded. "You too. No matter what happens, put your own safety first." He asked Wu Yi and the others to go to the Eternity Ancient Star to pick up Jiang Luoluo. He wasn't too worried about their safety. After all, they were all at the Heaven Ascension realm, and the weakest of them had comprehended order to the third stage. They were all very strong. In this great destruction, there weren't many people who could threaten them. In particular, Wu Yi was in the group. With Wu Yi's current strength, even if they encountered an early-stage Dao fusion existence, they could escape unscathed. Wu Yi nodded gently and didn't say anything else. He led Ruoxian and Ji Yu to the Eternity Ancient Star. "Father, be careful." Ruoxian's voice came from the distance. They disappeared from Lin Tian's vision in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian softly chuckled. He paused for a moment, looked towards the center of this world, and took a step forward. The Celestial Court acted quickly. At this time, a temporary battle palace had been set up in the center of the world. A Void Sky expert was guarding this place. He arrived at this place and didn't say anything. With a thought, the Samsara sword filled the sky and destroyed the battle palace of the Celestial Court. The Void Sky expert inside and the nearby celestial soldiers and generals were all killed at the same time. Then, he opened the world portal to the immortal domain and stepped into it. In an instant, he entered the immortal domain. Kill! The immortal domain was filled with shouts of killing. Naturally, the cultivators of the Celestial Court had already stepped into this world and were killing mercilessly. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. With a thought, he killed all the celestial soldiers and generals in his sight. Then, he tore open a void portal and arrived at a group of celestial mountains. In the group of celestial mountains, there was a celestial palace. It was the place where the Purple Heaven Treasure sect was established. When he first entered the immortal domain, he stayed in this sect for a period of time. Ning Yiye was in this sect and had protected him. Ah! Screams of terror came from inside. The smell of blood was very strong. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. He stepped into the Purple Heaven Treasure sect and was stunned by the scene in front of him. Previously, when he heard the screams, he thought it was the Heavenly Court's heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals slaughtering the disciples of the Violet Firmament Treasure sect. He immediately became anxious for Ning Yiye's safety. After all, when Ning Yiye was still very young, she had protected him in the Violet Firmament Treasure sect. For his sake, she didn't hesitate to activate the Violet Firmament Treasure sect's guardian killing formation. He was naturally afraid that Ning Yiye would be in danger during the Great Calamity. However, when he really stepped into the Purple Heaven Treasure sect, he found that although the celestial soldiers and generals from the Celestial Court had killed their way into the Purple Heaven Treasure sect, the screams he heard just now did not come from the disciples of the Purple Heaven Treasure sect, but from the celestial soldiers and generals from the Celestial Court. The little Taichu and whooshing crocodile were in this place, killing the celestial soldiers and generals one after another. The celestial soldiers and generals kept exploding. Boylin, you're here too? Whooshing Crocodile noticed Lin Tian and looked over. Yeah, little Alpha Primordium naturally noticed Lin Tian as well. It called out to Lin Tian in its childish voice, and with a flap of its beautiful wings, it shattered a large number of celestial soldiers and celestial generals. When they first entered the celestial domain with Lin Tianyi, they naturally knew about Ning Yiye and Shui Shui and Ni Yao Yao. They had even fought alongside in Shui Shui and Ni Yao Yao. When the great calamity of the primordial universe began, they immediately left the 10 Directions Ancient Star and killed their way into the celestial domain to protect Ning Yiye and the others. They did not expect Lin Tian to come as soon as they stepped into the celestial domain and entered the Purple Heaven Treasure sect. Big Brother Lin Tian. She was none other than Ning Yiye. After so many years, her cultivation had become even stronger, and she had become even more beautiful. She had become even more powerful. It's the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor actually came to help us. There were many disciples in the Purple Heaven Treasure sect. They were all pleasantly surprised to see Lin Tian. Although Lin Tian had withdrawn all the celestial soldiers and generals from the Celestial Court to the starry sky, he had set up a branch in the Celestial Domain. All the cultivators in the Celestial Domain knew about Lin Tian even if they had never seen Lin Tian in person. Lin Tian stepped into the Purple Heaven Treasure Sect and saw little Taichu, Wuxing Crocodile, and Ning Yiye were there. He was relieved to see that Ning Yiye was fine. At the same time, a large sword light appeared beside him and killed all the experts from the Celestial Court who had attacked the Purple Heaven Treasure Sect. Then, he came to the front of the group. Big Brother Lin Tian. Ning Yiye immediately went up to greet him with a happy expression. It had been a long time since she last saw Lin Tian. Lin Tian smiled and rubbed Ning Yiye's head. Greetings, Celestial Emperor. There was a woman in a purple dress and an old man beside Ning Yiye. The old man stepped forward and bowed to Lin Tian. Senior, you're too polite. There's no need for that. Lin Tiandao straightened the old man's body. He naturally knew this old man. He was Ning Yiye's grandfather, the strongest patriarch of the Purple Heaven Treasure Sect. His cultivation had long surpassed the old man's. However, he was still very courteous to the old man. At the same time, he also recognized the woman in purple dress. Her name was Hai Jingyao. She had helped Ning Yiye before and was a friend that Ning Yiye had made in the sea region of the Celestial Domain. She had followed Ning Yiye back here. It seemed that she had been with Ning Yiye all these years since then. Yiye, you should already know about the great destruction of the Celestial Court. Now that the great destruction has begun, it's very dangerous. Although it's a pity to abandon this place, we have no choice but to do so now. If you have anything important to pack, pack it immediately. I'll take all of you to another place. Chapter 2301. The location of any sect was extremely important. The Purple Carefree Treasure Sect was founded by Ning Yiye's ancestor, so its significance was even more important. However, now that the great calamity was upon them, he had no choice but to ask Ning Yiye to give up on it, no matter how important it was. After all, it was too dangerous to stay here. The Celestial Court would send people to kill them at any time. He and little Taichu couldn't stay here to protect Ning Yiye and the others. They could only bring them to the 10 Directions Ancient Star. In his impression, that place could be considered the safest place in the universe. There's nothing to prepare. Let's go. Thank you, Brother Lin Tian, for coming to help us. Ning Yiye thanked Lin Tian, little Taichu, and Wuxing Crocodile. Then, she looked at the ordinary disciples, deacons, and elders and asked Lin Tiandao, Brother Lin Tian, can you take them with you? Hearing Ning Yiye's question, the disciples, deacons, and elders couldn't help but look at Lin Tian. Of course, Lin Tiandao. There were more than 10,000 people in the Purple Shao Treasure Sect, but this number was nothing to him. Thank you, Brother Lin Tian. Ning Yiye thanked him immediately. The disciples, deacons, and elders here were all from the same sect. She didn't want anything to happen to them. Thank you, Immortal Emperor. The disciples, deacons, and elders were also excited. They all bowed to Lin Tian. It's okay. Lin Tiandao held up his perfect world and took Ning Yiye and the people of the Purple Shao Treasure Sect into it. Ning Yiye and the others didn't have high cultivation. Now, it was the most convenient and safest to take them into the perfect world. Go find Shui and Yao Yao. Then go to the Lord Theological Seminary. Lin Tian said to little Taichu and Wuxing Crocodile. He directly tore open a void door and stepped inside. After that, he first went to Shui's clan and took Shui and her clan into the perfect world. He then went to Ni Yao Yao's place and took Ni Yao Yao and her sect's cultivators into the perfect world. After that, he tore open the space portal and went to the Lord Theological Seminary. There's no need to care about this old man. This old man was born in this immortal realms and will naturally fight. Even if I die in battle, it's still the best ending for me. Inside the Lord Theological Seminary, there were many celestial soldiers and celestial generals. Lin Tian found Elder Ge, who had helped him before, and wanted to take him away. However, Elder Ge was unwilling. Lin Tian repeatedly hoped that Elder Ge would leave with them, but he shook his head and insisted on staying behind to fight. In the end, Lin Tian didn't insist anymore. He took out a peak-level Divine Master level precious weapon and gave it to Elder Ge. He also infused it with his own power of order to help Elder Go defend himself in battle. May your path to immortality be long and prosperous. The path to immortality was a general name for the path of cultivation. Since Elder Gu insisted on staying and fighting for this land and didn't want to leave, he couldn't force him. He hoped that Elder G's path of cultivation would never end and flourish forever. In other words, he hoped that Elder Gu would always be alive. As he said this, he bowed slightly to the old man. Such a person would always be worthy of his respect. Immediately, he tore open the world portal and left this place with little Taichu and whooshing crocodile. Now he couldn't stay in the immortal realms to fight. He had to find other old friends and protect them. In the blink of an eye, little Taichu, and whooshing crocodile disappeared from the Lord Theological Seminary. Bringing whooshing crocodile and little Taichu, he passed through the gap between the worlds. Not long after, they entered another great world. As far as the eye could see, this great world was very barren. Compared to the worlds in the immortal realms that had been invaded by the heavenly soldiers and generals of the celestial court, this place could be considered very peaceful. He brought little Taichu and whooshing crocodile to the village where he had lived for 10 years according to his memory. However, when he arrived here, the village in his memory had completely changed its appearance. The inside was filled with all kinds of spiritual trees and celestial plants, and the spiritual chi was very thick. There were about 1 million families living here, and it could no longer be considered a simple village. It could be considered a huge tribe. It was also at this time that people walked out of the village. There were about 10 people, and their spirits were very strong. Their auras were extraordinary. Lin Tianyi recognized these 10 people at a glance. They were the first group of youths that he had taught cultivation in the small village back then. Because their cultivation had reached the level of golden immortal, these people's appearances hadn't changed much after so many years. At the same time, because he didn't hide after coming to this place, he was quickly seen by the 10 youths. Brother Tian. At that moment, the 10 youths were all very excited. They all rushed over in unison, their faces full of excitement. Ever since Lin Tian left, they had been working hard to cultivate. They were prepared to become stronger and leave this world to search for Lin Tian. They didn't expect that they would see Lin Tian again in this world. You're stronger than before, Lin Tian said with a smile. Come to think of it, he really hadn't seen these people for a long, long time. Back then, they were simple. They fought to protect the village and the ferocious beasts of this world. They cried because he helped them resist the ferocious beasts. Those things were still fresh in his mind. Now, these youths were all in the profound immortal realm. They were completely incomparable to him now. However, compared to when he left, they were already much, much stronger. He chatted with them briefly, and then he was escorted into the village by a dozen people. Then everyone in the village came out. He recognized many of them as people who used to live in this village, but he didn't know most of them. They were all new faces. Then he soon found out the reason for the change in the village. The first group of youths in the village who followed him to cultivate gradually changed this world after they became stronger. They brought all the people from other parts of this world here to cultivate together. In addition, the descendants of those people gathered here, so there was a huge village today. This, in fact, reflected the desolation of this world in another way. In the entire world, after so many years, the total population didn't exceed 10 million. In terms of population, even the Milky Way imperial planet, which had suffered a great disaster and had less than 1/10,000th of its peak in the past, had far more people than here. However, he only sighed in his heart. Then, he briefly told the people in the village about the great destruction of the celestial court and told them the purpose of his trip. He wanted to take them away from this world. Brother Tian, are you going to fight after this? We'll fight with you, a youth said. His name was Erju. His name was very simple. He used to cultivate with Lin Tian. Now, he was the most powerful person in this world, at the peak of the profound immortal realm. Moreover, under his leadership, all of the people in this world were cultivators, all of their essence, energy, and spirit extremely powerful. Okay, Lin Tianwei replied with a smile. Now, they were still very far away from his level. Their cultivation wasn't very strong, but they could still do their best for the great destruction. Bring them back to the 10 Directions ancient planet. There were many immortal books and spiritual treasures there, and they could quickly become stronger. At least they could participate in the battle in the starry sky with the other immortal soldiers and immortal generals. He said a few more things to them. He supported the perfect world and took in all the people in the village. After that, he took the little Taichu and whooshing crocodile to a large mountain range not far from the village. Chapter 2302. These are the souls of the creatures that were killed by mistake because of Lan Tianjin and the other bastard's trap. Whooshing crocodile looked at the nameless tombs and didn't finish his sentence. Lin Tian nodded and didn't say anything else. Back then, he was framed by Lan Tianjin, Yi Yinshang, and Yuan Yunfu, and accidentally killed 180,000 innocent creatures. His state of mind was damaged, causing him to fail his tribulation and lose his cultivation. He was stranded in this place, and he had always felt guilty toward those 180,000 creatures. Although he had been framed and killed by mistake, those 180,000 ordinary people had still died in his hands. He always remembered that when he was stranded in this place, and he set up 180,000 small tombs for those people. Because he didn't know the names of those people, the tombs and tombstones here didn't have the names of the tomb owners. After so many years, he came here again, looking at the 180,000 tombs he had set up here with his bare hands, and the surroundings were very clean, without any weeds. He knew that the villagers had been taking care of this place. The reason for that was because when he left this world, he had asked the villagers to help him guard these tombs. He stood here, paused, and took a deep breath. Using his great ability, he moved the hundreds of thousands of nameless tombs together with the soil layer and put them into his perfect world. When the great apocalypse began, this barren world might be destroyed, and he didn't want these tombs to be destroyed. These nameless tombs were his repentance for the people he killed back then, and he couldn't let them be destroyed. Let's go. After moving all the nameless tombs and the soil layer into his perfect world, he called out to little Taichu and whooshing crocodile and directly tore open the world portal here and left this world. After leaving this great world, he didn't immediately take Ning Yiye and Shui Shui and the others back to the 10 Directions ancient star. Instead, he took little Taichu and whooshing crocodile to another great world. What are we doing here? Whooshing crocodile looked a little confused. Yeah. Little Taichu was also curious. As far as the eye could see, this world was even more barren than the world that Lin Tian had brought them to. The entire world was almost completely barren, and not a single green plant could be seen. Find someone. Lin Tian Dao. Previously, when he was searching for Huang Quan Yi's divine soul, he found out the location of the Huang Quan clan's temporary camp in this universe. At the same time, he also found the traces of the other 9 divine princes. The 9 of them discovered an extremely extraordinary ancient ruin. For the time being, they all stayed in that ancient ruin and excavated it. And that ancient relic was within this world. He briefly explained the matter to little Taichu and whooshing crocodile. You came to kill them? Whooshing crocodile glared at him. Could it be that he's here to have tea with them? Lin Tiandao. The 10 deities of the Yellow Spring clan were all very important to the Yellow Spring clan. He had already killed one of the 10 deities. Since he knew the whereabouts of the other 9 deities, he naturally had to kill them too. At the same time, he was more or less interested in that ancient ruin. After all, among the other 9 deities of the Yellow Spring clan, the strongest was at the peak of the Great Void stage. An ancient ruin that could attract the attention of people at this level would definitely not be ordinary. Perhaps there would be shocking gains. How strong are those few people? Whooshing crocodile asked again. The strongest is at the peak of the Great Void stage, and the weakest is at the early stage of the Great Void stage. They've all reached the 5th stage of the Great Void stage, Lin Tian said casually. Whooshing crocodile couldn't help but stare at him. The strongest is at the peak of the Great Void stage? They've all reached the 5th stage of the Great Void stage? Can you do it? Hearing Lin Tian's words, it was a little scared. Among the 9 of them, The weakest was at the early stage of the Great Void stage, and the strongest was at the peak of the Great Void stage. Moreover, all of them had reached the 5th stage of the Great Void stage. It was hard to imagine how terrifying their combined combat power would be. Even though it knew that Lin Tian had the Eye of Destiny, it couldn't help but worry. After all, Lin Tian's cultivation was only at the Void transformation stage. "Don't worry." Lin Tiandao said nothing. He didn't say much. Bringing little Taichu and whooshing crocodile with him, he directly tore open a void portal. Not long after, he appeared in another location in this world. Looking ahead, there was a group of mountains. The mountains were connected to each other, and they were all very majestic. However, the mountains were bare. There wasn't a single green plant, not even a single blade of grass. He brought little Taichu and whooshing crocodile here and directly walked into the mountains. The ancient ruin was in this group of mountains. After arriving here, he walked into the mountains. His speed wasn't fast, but it wasn't slow either. Soon, he had crossed a long distance. A full quarter of an hour passed. After a quarter of an hour, he also came to the center of the mountains. Looking ahead, there were dozens of mountains connected together. Every mountain was densely packed with ancient runes. It looked like they had been carved with sword chi. There were 9 young people in front. Each of them had an intimidating aura. They stared at the densely packed runes and were preparing to sit down cross-legged. It looked like they had been deciphering something along the way and had just stepped into this place. This is Lin Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. These 9 young people were the other 9 deities of the Yellow Spring clan, excluding Huang Quanyi. Because he had searched Huang Quanyi's spirit, he naturally recognized the 9 of them at a glance. However, at this time, he temporarily ignored the 9 of them. His gaze fell on the densely packed runes and ancient runes. These runes and ancient runes were so complicated that it was difficult for him to understand them at first glance. However, although he couldn't understand them at first glance, he felt that these runes and ancient runes were amazing. They seemed to contain some kind of shocking sacred aura. Beside him, little Taichu and whooshing crocodile also saw these runes and were shocked by them. At the same time, the 9 deities of the Yellow Spring clan in front of them naturally noticed the arrival of the man and 2 beasts. They immediately turned their heads to look. Then, their eyes narrowed. "Reincarnation body," one of them spoke. 2 rays of cold light shot out from his eyes, directly shattering a large area of the void in front of him. This person wore a purple robe. His name was Huang Quanyi, the first deity of the Yellow Spring clan. His cultivation was at the peak of the Great Void stage. Beside him, the eyes of the other 8 people also emitted a cold light. Like Huang Quanyi, they were also deities of the Yellow Spring clan. Their status in the Yellow Spring clan wasn't low, so they naturally knew Lin Tian. At this time, Lin Tian's gaze moved away from the runes and ancient runes on the dozens of mountains and fell on the 9 people. "Step back," he said to little Taichu and White Tiger. Then he directly moved. A large area of reincarnation sword radiance appeared and turned into a rain of swords that slashed down, enveloping the 9 deities of the Yellow Spring clan. The 9 deities of the Yellow Spring clan all had cold eyes. The 9th deity, Huang Quanyi, said coldly, "Arrogant thing. You're only at the transformation void stage. How dare you buzz?" Luck surged and appeared beside him, interrupting his words. Chapter 2303. The crack appeared too suddenly, and Huang Quanyi was sucked into it before he could react. "No!" Miserable cries rang out from within, and they were mixed with shrill, terrified, and despair. In the next moment, silence ensued. The crack closed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Ninth brother!" The other 8 divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan were shocked and angry. At the same time, whooshing crocodile and little Taichu were shocked and couldn't help but open their eyes wide. He was at the early stage of the Great Void stage and had control over the order, but he was killed by that kid in an instant. Whooshing crocodile couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Even though he had seen how terrifying Lin Tion's Eye of Destiny was, and how Lin Tion killed the 72 winged experts of the Heaven Protector clan with his Eye of Destiny, and those people were also at the early stage of the Great Void stage, he couldn't help but be shocked by this scene. After all, although they were both at the early stage of the Great Void stage, this divine prince of the Yellow Spring clan was definitely not comparable to those 72 winged experts of the Heaven Protector clan. The difference between the two was too big. Reincarnation body. You are very good. The Eye of Destiny is very good. The first divine prince of the Yellow Spring clan spoke. His eyes were extremely cold, and the light of order outside his body began to boil like a vast ocean. The other 7 divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan had even colder eyes, mixed with anger and killing intent. One of them was killed by Lin Tianyi in an instant, killed by Lin Tian, who was an entire realm apart. Lin Tian opened his Eye of Destiny. Boundless providence revolved around him, circling around his body. The first divine prince, Huang Quan Ni, second divine prince, Huang Quan Fu, third divine prince, Huang Quan Gong, fourth divine prince, Huang Quan Pu, fifth divine prince, Huang Quan Yin, sixth divine prince, Huang Quan Tong, seventh divine prince, Huang Quan Shui, and eighth divine prince, Huang Quan Ling. He looked at the 8 people, appearing indifferent and calm. All of you attack together. As for the names of the 10 god children of the Yellow Springs clan, he had long since learned from a void transformation stage expert of the Yellow Springs clan. At this time, he was naturally able to call out their names. Then, he moved again. His chi of fate moved with the light in his eyes. Vortexes of fate appeared one after another. His chi of fate surged violently. You are courting death, Huang Quan Ling said coldly. She knew how powerful the Eye of Destiny was at this time, so she directly propped up the order of the 5th stage. The ice and snow that filled the sky immediately appeared, completely condensed by order. In the blink of an eye, all the space within a radius of 10,000 feet was frozen. In this place, the temperature of the air dropped by dozens of degrees in an instant. At the same time, the other divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan had cold eyes, and they all moved together, propping up the order of the 5th stage. The sea of fire, the sky full of light blades, and the dense lightning balls were all very terrifying. Especially the first son of God, reversed the netherworld's order divine power. Behind him, 18 layers of stone doors appeared. Each layer of stone doors was engraved with dense Tao patterns, as if each layer of stone doors represented a layer of hell. The aura emitted from within was extremely frightening. It was as if once the stone doors were opened, they would devour everything. These monsters, not far away, the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu could not help but shrink their necks. They were shocked by the divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan's divine ability of order. It was really too terrifying. Even though Lin Tian had opened his Eye of Destiny, he still felt immense pressure as he faced the 8 people's orderly mystiques together. After all, his cultivation was much weaker than these people. Furthermore, these people were all super geniuses. This was especially so for Ni Huang Quan. His bloodline power was extremely shocking, and he was at the peak of the Great Void stage. He was truly one realm higher than Lin Tian. Furthermore, the 18 stone doors that he held up also gave off a huge sense of threat. Even so, his expression did not change. Instead, his battle aura became even more powerful. He didn't say much. Boundless power of providence moved with his gaze, and vortexes of providence instantly spread out in all directions. Luck surpassed order. He did not use these vortexes of luck to resist the order of the 8 people. Instead, he went around the 8 people's divine ability of order and attacked their bodies. At the same time, strands of Saint runes of order appeared outside his body, and they surrounded his body together with the reincarnation divine territory. The 8 people's divine ability of order landed outside his body, and it was infinitely weakened by the Saint runes of order. It was blocked by the reincarnation divine territory and disappeared one by one. Not far away, The whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu could not help but be shocked when they saw the Saint runes of order outside Lin Tian's body. This is the 5th stage of order. This kid has already cultivated order to the peak level. The whooshing crocodile's eyes widened. How long had it been since Lin Tian started to comprehend order until now? He had cultivated order to the peak level. In terms of time spent cultivating order, this was even less than the time spent by Wu Yi. Moreover, it was much less. At the same time, I Quan and the others also sensed the dense aura of order from the Saint runes of order outside Lin Tian's body. The 5th stage of order. This is your divine ability of order that can infinitely weaken other people's divine ability of order? I Quan's eyes were cold. He naturally sensed that when the divine ability of order that he and the others used came into contact with the Saint runes of order outside Lin Tian's body, it instantly became much weaker. It was actually unable to injure Lin Tian, who was at the peak of the void transformation stage. At the same time, the other divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan also sensed this. The divine ability of order that we have used is less than 1/10. There's no need to be polite with him. Just use it, said the 8th divine prince, Huang Quanling. The divine ability of order outside her body suddenly began to surge. It was also at this time that Lin Tian's voice rang out. Before this, did you completely ignore my attack? As his words fell, the divine ability of heaven and earth fell in front of the 8 divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan, causing them to immediately take action. They began to use their divine ability of order to deal with this divine ability of order. At the same time, as his gaze swept past, a long river of divine ability appeared behind Huang Quanling. The long river of divine ability of heaven and earth was vast and boundless. It directly pressed down and sucked Huang Quanling into it. Damn it! Give me... Ah! A miserable scream came from the long river of divine ability, interrupting Huang Quanling's words. It directly crushed her into pieces, and even her divine ability collapsed within it. 8th brother, I Quan and the others were dealing with the boundless divine ability of heaven and earth that Lin Tian had used. Seeing this scene, they were all even more shocked and furious. How long had it been? Among them, another one had been killed by Lin Tian. Reincarnation body. The 5th divine prince, Huang Quanyin, roared. The divine ability of order swept across the sky. With the peak of stage 5 order, he shook off the divine ability of heaven and earth outside his body. The surging divine ability of order fell on Lin Tian one after another. The other divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan also shook off the divine ability of heaven and earth that was pressing down on them. At the same time, they used their divine ability of order even more powerful. They pressed down on Lin Tian mightily, and their auras became even more powerful and terrifying than before. Chapter 2304. The raging power of order rolled as the 7 deities of the Netherworld clan attacked at the same time, activating all their order powers to the maximum. With a rumble, the void collapsed, and arcs of lightning could not help but intertwine in the sky. This, not far away, the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu were watching the battle from afar, and they couldn't help but tremble. This kind of attack was really too terrifying. Lin Tian was in the middle of the battle, facing the 7 deities of order. He could feel the immense pressure, but his expression didn't change at all. He didn't even use the power of fate to block the 7 deities' order powers. Instead, he used the Saint runes of order and the reincarnation divine territory to block them forcefully, and the power of fate created by the eye of destiny pressed down on the 7 deities. Buzz! Outside his body, the Saint runes of order shone with boundless holy light, weakening the power of order that was pressing down on him. The reincarnation divine territory was behind the Saint runes of order. While the Saint runes of order weakened the power of order, it also resisted it. At the same time, the power of fate that he used kept surging around the 7 deities, forcing them to retreat continuously. The legendary Eye of Destiny is indeed powerful, the Netherworld clan said coldly. As he spoke, the 18 stone doors behind him opened with a rumbling sound. The formless killing power of the sound became even more intense. Then, another huge, demonic shadow condensed behind him. It towered into the sky and seemed to be able to crush everything. Clearly, at this moment, the first divine son of the Netherworld clan had pushed his sequence mystique to the limit. Although the Eye of Destiny is powerful, his cultivation is only at the transformation void realm. He can't unleash its full power. Suppress him in 10 breaths. The other 6 deities of order spoke together, and their power of order surged. They used all sorts of other techniques, turning the place into a destructive sea of killing instantly. Lin Tian's eyes were deep, and there was no fear in them. He wasn't afraid at all in the face of the 7 deities' combined attack, and he continued to fight the 7 deities head-on. Buzz! Outside his body, the sacred runes of order revolved. The Eye of Destiny trembled slightly, and a terrifying waterfall of providence appeared. It seemed to descend from the 9 heavens. The aura of providence that surpassed order surged continuously, and its aura shook the world. He used this waterfall of providence to fight the 7 divine princes of the Yellow Springs clan, clashing with their divine powers of order. Boom! 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 There was an intense exchange, and a destructive aura surged. Blood splashed out again and again. The blood was his own, as well as the blood of the 7 deities of the Yellow Springs clan. In the blink of an eye, a full quarter of an hour passed. Boom! He clashed with the 7 individuals again. Blood flowed out from his mouth, and quite a few cracks appeared on his body. He took a step back. At the same time, the 7 members of the Yellow Spring clan were all covered in blood. Even the first godson, Yellow Spring and I, was no exception. Good. Reincarnation form, Eye of Destiny. I have to admit that you are very strong. Very strong. With the cultivation of the void transformation realm, you can actually fight to a draw with the 7 of us. Yellow Spring Knee's voice was cold. Since we are on par with each other, let's see who will run out of Saint Power first. As he spoke, Saint Light danced and boiled outside his body like a raging fire. The murderous aura was terrifying. At the same time, the Saint Power outside the bodies of the other 6 divine princes also vibrated. They looked at Lin Tian, and their eyes became colder than before. The murderous intent in their eyes was also more intense than before. They really did not want to admit that the 7 of them could only fight to a draw with Lin Tian, who was at the Void Transformation Realm when they fought together against Lin Tian. Their cultivations were all higher than Lin Tian's. At the very least, there was a gap of an entire realm between them. In such a battle, they should have been the ones with the highest chance of victory. However, up until now, they had not won at all. No need. You don't have a chance anymore, Lin Tian said as he looked at the 7 of them. His eyes were still indifferent. As soon as he finished speaking, the Saint runes of order outside his body shone brightly. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying aura of destruction burst out. Circles of light of order and Saint power intertwined, shaking the surroundings. As soon as this aura appeared, the sky in this place shook violently as if it would collapse in the next moment. The expressions of Yellow Spring Ni and the others changed drastically. At this moment, the aura that Lin Tian suddenly exuded was too strong. It made even the first divine prince of the Yellow Spring clan, who was at the peak of the Great Void stage, tremble. Moreover, the most important thing was that the light of order and Saint power outside Lin Tian's body clearly contained the powers of order and Tao of the 7 of them. Moreover, it was twice as strong as their own powers of order and Tao. How is this possible? The other 6 divine princes of the Yellow Spring clan were covered in blood. They had been fighting with Lin Tian for so long and had suffered serious injuries. At this moment, they also felt the strength of the light of order and Saint power outside Lin Tian's body. They could feel that the light of order and Saint power contained their powers. Their expressions changed drastically. They could not understand the scene at all. Lin Tian had displayed their powers at this moment. Moreover, their powers were even stronger than theirs. In the distance, little Taichu and whooshing crocodile also changed their expressions. They were all shocked by this scene. This whooshing crocodile's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This scene was too strange. Boom! The terrifying light of order and saint power outside Lin Tian's body were vast and mighty, making Lin Tian look like a peerless god of war. From the beginning until now, all the magical powers of order and Tao power that you have used will be returned to you in double. He spoke and raised his right hand slightly. He simply and calmly punched toward the 7 divine princes. Absolute counterattack. As he punched, all the light of order and Tao power outside his body moved along with his fist. They turned into a beam of fist radiance that reached the sky. It directly shattered the great void, pierced through a great void tunnel, and enveloped all 7 of them. In an instant, the unparalleled light flooded all directions. Stop! Ah! Miserable screams were heard. The 7 of them were instantly drowned by the dazzling fist radiance. They directly exploded, and even their magical powers were annihilated. The dazzling light was turbulent here, like a surging wave. After a few breaths, it gradually calmed down. Lin Tian took a deep breath. The 9 black moons in his eyes disappeared in the blink of an eye, and he returned to his usual appearance. Outside his body, the 9-colored holy light appeared naturally. It contained the power of healing, causing his injuries to begin to heal at an astonishing speed. His essence, energy, and spirit gradually began to strengthen. Not far away, whooshing crocodile and little Taichu could not help but open their mouths wide. This sudden turn of events caused their eyes to widen at the same time. A moment ago, Lin Tian was still fighting fiercely with the divine princes. But now, with just one strike, he had killed all of the divine princes together. Moreover, the power of that strike was actually the divine prince's magical powers of order and the Tao power that had been blasted out. Kid, just now what was that? How did you do it? How did you use the magical powers of order and the Tao power that are unique to those few people at the same time? Moreover, it's even more powerful than what those few people used. Chapter 2305. Looking at Lin Tian, whooshing crocodile, and little Taichu were simply too shocked. Lin Tian had actually suddenly unleashed the orderly mystique and lethal force of the Tao radiance that belonged to the few deities of the Netherworld tribe. Moreover, it was even stronger than what Ni of the Netherworld and the others had unleashed. With just one attack, he had abruptly ended everyone. This was simply too shocking, and it scared them. They couldn't understand at all. Facing whooshing crocodile and little Taichu's faces full of confusion and shock, Lin Tian naturally wouldn't hide anything. My orderly mystique. As he spoke, he briefly explained the orderly mystique that he had evolved to whooshing crocodile and little Taichu. As long as you can withstand all the attacks that come at you and not die, you can accumulate and refine them, and then return them back with double the power. Just now, was that the power of your orderly mystique? Whooshing crocodile's eyes widened even more. Yeah! Little Taichu's eyes widened as well. They had seen Wu Yi's orderly mystique before. It was a power that truly dominated the heavens and suppressed everything, overwhelming everything. In comparison, Lin Tian's orderly mystique wasn't as domineering as Wu Yi's orderly mystique. However, in terms of substance, they knew that Lin Tian's orderly mystique was definitely much stronger than Wu Yi's orderly mystique. He could refine all the attacks that came at him, whether it was sword radiance, fist radiance, or Tao radiance, and accumulate them together. Then, he could use his own mind to return the attack with double the power. In terms of practical effects, this was undeniably a little terrifying. In many cases, such an orderly mystique was simply a super killing machine. They reckoned that in many cases, this orderly mystique was even more terrifying than the power of the Eye of Destiny. For example, the power that Lin Tianyi had unleashed when he killed the 7 of them had originated from Lin Tian's Order Divine ability. It was definitely at least 10 times more powerful than the Eye of Destiny that Lin Tian could unleash. Lin Tianin smiled. His injuries had already completely healed. At this time, he called out to Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu and walked towards the dozens of mountains in front of them. There were dozens of mountains, and every mountain was engraved with ancient Tao markings. He brought the Wuxing Crocodile and the Little Taichu to the front of the mountain and came into contact with these ancient Tao markings. He observed them carefully, and his mind couldn't help but tremble. At the same time, Little Taichu and Wuxing Crocodile couldn't help but feel shocked when they saw these ancient Tao patterns. These Tao pattern ancient seals. Wuxing Crocodile showed a frightened expression. Very scary, Lin Tian said in a low voice. When he came closer and observed the Tao pattern ancient seals on the dozens of mountains at close range, he felt an extremely ancient and vigorous aura. At the same time, he also sensed an astonishingly vast Taoist rhyme. Just by comprehending a trace of such Taoist rhyme, he felt that he had suddenly become insignificant in front of these ancient Taoist runes. That feeling of insignificance was as if he was a water plant, and the ancient Taoist runes were a vast ocean. At the very least, they were left behind by someone in the true realm. His eyelids couldn't help but twitch. Countless years ago, someone in the true realm had stayed here to comprehend the Tao, and casually left these ancient Tao pattern seals here. He looked at these ancient Tao patterns and seals, paused for a while, and took a deep breath. Then, he called the Wuxing Crocodile and the Little Taichu to start comprehending them. Some of the seals left behind by the supreme experts when they were comprehending the Tao, even if they were left behind casually, they still contained amazing Taoist rhyme. Comprehending these ancient Tao pattern seals and comprehending the Taoist rhyme contained within would be extremely helpful to one's cultivation. Moreover, most of these ancient Tao pattern seals were extremely extraordinary and had many wonderful features. If one studied them carefully, they would benefit a lot. At that moment, he sat down cross-legged in this place. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra automatically operated, and his divine thought of the origin surged towards the dense ancient Tao pattern seals on the dozens of mountains. He touched and comprehended the Taoist rhyme contained within these ancient Tao pattern seals, and at the same time, he also comprehended these ancient Tao pattern seals themselves. For a moment, as he observed these ancient Tao pattern seals and comprehended the Taoist rhyme within, he felt that his essence, qi, and spirit had left his body in an instant and suddenly appeared in a vast and boundless space. There were endless Tao radiances and immortal lights inside. Under the influence of these Tao radiances and immortal lights, his essence, qi, and spirit gradually became stronger and stronger. He could not help but have a new understanding of the path of cultivation in his heart. As his essence, qi, and spirit gradually became stronger, and as his new understanding of the path of cultivation emerged, his own cultivation realm began to loosen and improve bit by bit. There is no end to heaven and earth, and there is no end to cultivation. Although there is no end to this boundless path, one can continuously surpass oneself. One's own body is the path of cultivation. Cultivation is to surpass oneself. He muttered to himself, and the light in his eyes gradually became deeper, like two black holes. He said these as he muttered to himself. These were originally very common, and many people knew about them. However, at this time, as he observed the ancient Tao pattern seals here, and as he said these words, his eyes became deeper and deeper. He vaguely seemed to have grasped something that was worth pondering and meditating on. As his essence, qi, and spirit became stronger, his cultivation improved even faster. One's own body is heaven. One's own body is earth. One's own body is Tao. One's own body is everything. As he observed the ancient Tao pattern seals on the dozens of mountains, he muttered to himself from time to time, and his essence, qi, and spirit continued to become stronger. Just like this, time passed. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, in the blink of an eye, he stayed here for half a month. Boom! Half a month later, on this day, the heavens trembled, and this desolate world suddenly turned dusky. Directly above where he was, a huge thunder vortex appeared, and within it, blood-red lightning intertwined with each other, making crackling sounds. A terrifying, destructive aura covered the sky and covered the earth, as if it was going to destroy everything. As soon as such a destructive aura appeared, little Taichu and whooshing crocodile suddenly trembled and woke up together. Looking at the thunder vortex in the sky and feeling the terrifying, destructive aura, whooshing crocodile scales could not help but stand up. He immediately tilted his head and looked at Lin Tian, who was beside him. Tai virtual realm. Yeah. Little Taichu's gaze fell on Lin Tian at this time, and he could not help but stare. At this time, Lin Tian's aura had obviously changed qualitatively compared to half a month ago, and there was a sudden change. In half a month's time, on this day, Lin Tian broke through to the absolute virtual realm. This caused whooshing crocodile and little Taichu to feel their hearts palpitate. In half a month's time, they had been comprehending these ancient Dao pattern seals. Although they had obtained good results, their cultivation had not improved. However, Lin Tian had stepped into the absolute virtual realm from the peak of the void transformation stage and attracted the absolute virtual heavenly tribulation. This kind of improvement caused their eyes to be filled with shock. Dong! Chapter 2306. Heaven and earth became dark as thunder rumbled, and a destructive aura fell from the sky. In the space around them, tornadoes spread out one after another. Booms! Another clap of thunder rang out, and the sky suddenly became even darker. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian opened his eyes, and lightning intertwined in his eyes. You two continue to comprehend. He stood up and said to the little Taichu and whooshing crocodile. With just one step, he left this place. As he moved, the thunder in the sky also moved with him. Soon, he appeared about a few million miles away from where he was just now, and landed in a vast desert. This place was completely suitable for undergoing the tribulation, and there was nothing to worry about. Come. He raised his head and looked at the rolling thunder in the sky, and said this one word. In half a month's time, he had comprehended the ancient runes on the dozens of mountains. At this moment, he had stepped into the Great Void Plane and triggered the Great Void Thunder Punishment. That destructive aura was extremely terrifying, but he was not afraid of it at all. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, the rolling thunder in the sky immediately pressed down. He was fearless and did not make any resistance. He directly took it with his flesh and blood, just like before, using the thunder punishment to temper his body. At the same time, he also called out the immortal Emperor Pagoda. After he stepped into the Great Void Realm, the Pagoda turned into a Great Void-level precious weapon. At this time, it was baptized and tempered by the thunder together with him. Boom! 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 Thunder punishment came one after another. In the blink of an eye, a total of 13 main thunder punishments had passed, and the space around them was scorched. He took the 13 main lightning punishments head-on without any resistance. He took them all head-on, using the fierce and domineering destructive lightning to temper his body, causing his physique to become several times stronger than before. It was also at this time that he took all 13 main thunder punishments without any resistance. At this time, he had reached the limit of what he could bear. He began to use the 5 heaven-shaking thunders, the reincarnation divine territory, and the reincarnation forging divine art to fight head-on. Boom! As he made his move at this time, the turbulent saint energy shook all directions, shattering the main thunder punishment one after another. Then, in the blink of an eye, the 18th round of the main lightning punishment descended. Streaks of lightning materialized, emitting a terrifying aura. Lin Tian's eyes were deep, and he was fearless. He opened his eye of destiny, and divine chains of order surged out. Cracking sounds rang out as the 18th main lightning punishment was destroyed in the blink of an eye. For a moment, the lightning vortex in the sky disappeared, and the destructive aura quickly dissipated. In the blink of an eye, the great world regained its clarity. Lin Tian stood in the middle of the desert. Beneath his feet was a piece of scorched earth. Arcs of lightning flickered around his body. At this time, he had truly reached the height of the great void realm. He used his divine thoughts to sense his body slightly. Immediately, he felt his current strength. The saint power in his body was endless. His sea of consciousness was more vast and boundless. His spiritual soul was more solid and tenacious. And his perception of the universe was clearer. Everything in his eyes was brighter. Compared to when he was at the peak of the void transformation stage, his fighting strength had undoubtedly undergone a shocking qualitative change. He was much, much stronger. All right. His eyes shone brightly. At this moment, he had reached the early stage of the great void realm, standing at the level of the strongest in the universe. He believed that if he faced the divine princes of the Yellow Springs clan again, he would not even need to use his order. He could wipe them all out with a raise of his hand. He believed that he was invincible under the soul reincarnation realm. After a pause, he tilted his head and looked at the pieces of purple light around him. Those were the fragments of the immortal Emperor Pagoda that had been shattered by the lightning tribulation. With a thought, he gathered all the purple light fragments and reformed the immortal Emperor Pagoda in the blink of an eye. After the immortal Emperor Pagoda was reformed, there were more lightning imprints on the pagoda, and the aura of extreme yang and toughness was stronger. The power of the entire pagoda had increased greatly, just like his own body. He nodded to himself. He was very satisfied with the pagoda's growth. With a thought, he stored it into his body again. Then he took a step forward. In a flash, he had traveled an endless distance and reappeared among the dozens of mountains from before. The great void realm, the strongest in the universe. Whooshing Crocodile looked at Lin Tian with shock and excitement. The great void realm was the level of the strongest in the universe. Now that Lin Tian had reached the level of the strongest in the universe, it was naturally excited. Yeah! Little Taichu also opened its mouth and congratulated Lin Tian with its childish voice. Lin Tianyi smiled. After a pause, he asked Little Taichu and Whooshing Crocodile, "How about you guys? What have you gained in the past half a month?" "We haven't improved much in terms of cultivation, but we have gained a lot in other aspects. Our understanding of heaven and earth has become clearer, and our understanding of Tao has deepened. In terms of battle strength, we should be 3 to 5 times stronger than we were half a month ago." Whooshing Crocodile said. "Me too," Little Taichu said. Lin Tian nodded. Although Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu's cultivation hadn't changed much in the past half a month, their battle strength had increased by 3 to 5 times on the basis of their original cultivation base. This kind of gain could be considered very amazing. He paused and said, "Then, let's leave this place for now. I'll move the dozens of mountains that bear the ancient runes into my perfect world and bring them back to 10 Directions' ancient star. Then, I'll place them in the celestial court. You guys can continue to comprehend them in the celestial court. In a short time, your cultivation should improve a lot." It was the great destruction of the universe, so he couldn't stay here with Little Taichu and Whooshing Crocodile to comprehend the ancient runes. There were still many things to deal with. Moreover, these ancient runes were extraordinary. If he brought them back to the celestial court, not only could Little Taichu and Whooshing Crocodile continue to comprehend them, Jiyu, Shuiyi, Baiziki, and the rest of the immortal soldiers and immortal generals could also comprehend them together. By comprehending these ancient runes, Jiyu, Baiziki, and the rest of the celestial court's generals would become stronger. "Okay," Whooshing Crocodile said. He naturally understood the current situation. Lin Tian nodded and immediately propped up his perfect world. He moved the dozens of mountains that bear the ancient runes into his perfect world along with the large territory here. "Let's go back to 10 Directions' ancient star." He directly tore open the world portal here and stepped into it with Little Taichu and Whooshing Crocodile, disappearing in an instant. In the next moment, they stepped out from the other side. They were surrounded by huge stars. Apparently, they were in the starry sky. There were specks of silver radiance, and the smell of blood was very strong in the starry sky. There were intertwining killing intents, and even blood mist could be seen floating in the sky. Obviously, there was a fierce battle in this starry sky, and many people died. However, such a fierce battle didn't affect the huge stars in this starry sky. The surrounding huge stars were all unharmed. Lin Tian naturally knew what happened. It must be that the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court had killed their way into this starry sky. Then, the celestial soldiers and immortal generals of the celestial court activated the killing formation they engraved in the starry sky. They killed all of them with absolute advantage. Therefore, the smell of blood was very strong in the starry sky, and the killing intents were intertwined. However, none of the surrounding stars were damaged. Lord Celestial Emperor. Not far away, a dozen figures rushed over. All of them were wearing the unique armor of the celestial court. All of them were vigorous in spirit. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of Celestial Emperor. They knelt down on one knee and bowed respectfully. They reported respectfully, "The bastards of the celestial court came as Lord Celestial Emperor expected. We killed them all with the killing formation engraved by Lord Celestial Emperor and the others. None of our people or stars were damaged. These people were all geniuses of the celestial court. They were very strong generals in the celestial court. With the help of all kinds of resources and precious scriptures Lin Tianyi brought back every time, they were now at the peak of the ruler realm and were guarding this starry sky. In the current immortal court, the number of great generals at this level was not small. In fact, there were many of them. Rise. Well done." Lin Tian nodded and said, "Continue to guard this area." Ka. Suddenly, not far away, a huge crack appeared in the starry sky, which made him stop talking. Chapter 23:07. 10 figures walked out of the big crack in the starry sky. All of them were young, and their spirits were very terrifying. The weakest was at the early stage of the Great Void stage, and the strongest was at the peak of the Great Void stage. Looking at these 10 people, a faint light flashed across Lin Tian's eyes. He had found information about these 10 people in the mind of the 10th divine son of the Yellow Spring clan, the 10th divine son of the Luosha clan. Beside him, Little Taichu, Wuxing Crocodile, and the other generals of the celestial court also saw these 10 people. They all narrowed their eyes and sensed how terrifying these 10 people were. Almost at the same time, the 10 divine sons of the Luosha clan, who walked out of the big crack in the starry sky, also noticed Lin Tian and the others. Their eyes narrowed slightly, and they all fell on Lin Tian. "Reincarnation body," one of them said, looking at Lin Tian. "Although we found out that you live in this low-level starry sky, we didn't expect to find you as soon as we entered the starry sky." The Luosha clan, the Yellow Spring clan, the Nine Nether clan, and the Underworld clan all knew about Lin Tian, the reincarnation body. After the Luosha clan entered this universe, they guessed that Lin Tian was in this universe. The 10 divine sons of this clan had been tracking Lin Tian, the reincarnation body. From some places, they found out that Lin Tian was the master of the celestial court, and the main clan was in the starry sky. Immediately, they stepped into this starry sky, but they didn't expect to meet Lin Tian as soon as they entered this starry sky. This low-level starry sky is still so well preserved. Is the celestial court you created protecting it? You are quite capable. One of them glanced at the surrounding starry sky, and a trace of surprise appeared on his face when he saw that the stars were still intact. The celestial court? It's only one word away from the celestial court. You have guts to claim this name. He was the 5th divine child of the Luosha clan and was in the middle stage of the Great Void stage. He moved as soon as he finished speaking. Like an illusory flower, he appeared in front of Lin Tian in the blink of an eye and slapped his palm toward Lin Tian. This palm was aimed at Lin Tian's face. Obviously, this person wanted to humiliate Lin Tianyi before suppressing Lin Tian. Pa! The sound of a slap was extremely loud and clear. Lin Tian stood quietly where he was. The 5th divine child of the Luosha race, who had rushed over, was sent flying. There was a clear handprint on the left side of his face. Blood floated in the starry sky, and there were a few teeth in it. In an instant, the expressions of everyone in this place changed. Lord Immortal Emperor, The dozen or so generals of the immortal court were very excited. They didn't see Lin Tian make a move, but they knew that Lin Tian must be the one who sent the fifth divine child of the Luosha race flying. Just now, when the fifth divine child of the Luosha race stepped forward, the aura that naturally intertwined around his body made it difficult for them to move. However, in the next moment, the fifth divine child of the Luosha race was sent flying by a casual slap from their leader. This made them feel both reverence and excitement. The other 9 divine children of the Luosha race narrowed their eyes. They were all moved. Just now, the first divine child, Luosha Yun, frowned. Even someone as strong as him, who was at the peak of the Great Void stage, didn't see how Lin Tian made a move. On the other side, the fifth divine child of the Luosha race steadied himself. He was slightly stunned at first, but then he became furious. Reincarnation body. The fifth divine child roared, the veins on his forehead popping out. He obviously wanted to slap Lin Tian first to humiliate Lin Tian, but in the end, he was the one who was slapped by Lin Tian. With a boom, a shocking power of order rushed out of his body. The power of order of the fifth stage gushed out, and the power of order evolved into a sea of fire that seemed to be able to burn everything. It was mixed with an evil aura, which looked very terrifying. With a whoosh, he moved directly. He took a step toward Lin Tian, and the power of order pressed down like a vast ocean. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. He glanced at the fifth divine child and performed the reincarnation god-slaying technique. In the blink of an eye, the invisible power of killing broke into the fifth divine child's body and hit the fifth divine child's spirit, shattering it instantly. Suddenly, all the divine light of order around the fifth divine child of the Luosha race disappeared. The luster of life in his eyes also faded little by little. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared completely, and he fell into the starry sky. Fifth brother. The faces of the other 9 divine children of the Luosha race changed drastically. Someone raised his hand and grabbed the fifth divine child. Then, he found that the fifth divine child was only left with a flesh shell. The divine child inside was destroyed, and there was no soul power left. It disappeared just like that. Reincarnation body, what have you done? The first divine child, Luosha Yun, roared in a low voice. The power of order of the fifth stage spread out immediately, and the aura was terrifying. At the same time, the other 8 divine children also displayed the power of order of the fifth stage, and their aura was extremely powerful. The killing power was vast and mighty in this place. Facing such pressure, the little Taichu and whooshing crocodile were still fine, but the other generals of the immortal court all turned pale. Although they did not show any fear, their instincts still made them tremble uncontrollably. They only felt an extremely terrifying pressure on their bodies, as if a sharp blade was pressed against their throats. However, in the next moment, these people's feeling disappeared. Outside Lin Tian's body, strands of light spread out and protected the group behind him. The enormous pressure from the 9 divine children of the Luosha race was all blocked. He looked at the 9 people with a calm and indifferent expression. Now, you can't even sense my attack. As soon as he finished speaking, the reincarnation god-slaying technique was performed again. The invisible killing power fell in front of the 9 people in the blink of an eye, broke through their defense, and directly attacked their divine souls. In an instant, the divine light of order around the 9 people disappeared. The luster of life in the eyes of 8 of them disappeared rapidly, and they fell into the starry sky one after another. Their divine souls were all destroyed. Yu, the first divine child of the Luosha race, Luosha Yun, said in a trembling voice. His body was also trembling nonstop, and his face was extremely pale. His face was almost twisted into a ball at this time. It was because of the indescribable pain that had turned him into such a state. You're not bad to be able to withstand this attack. Lin Tian looked at this person and flicked his finger. A 9-colored sword chi shot out and penetrated between his eyebrows in an instant. With a puff, a stream of blood splashed out. Luo Yun fell into the starry sky. Like the other divine children of the Luo race, his divine soul was directly destroyed. In an instant, the entire place fell silent. Then, excited voices rang out. The immortal emperor is invincible. The generals of the immortal court were excited. The 10 divine children of the Luo race, who were so powerful and terrifying, were actually killed by their leader in the blink of an eye. Even the little Taichu and whooshing crocodile could not help but feel their hearts palpitate. At this moment, their eyes widened. This kid, with his current battle prowess, it's simply, whooshing crocodile could not help but gasp. P.S. The specific cause of Lin Tian's reincarnation body, as well as the relationship between the Lin Tian on Earth and the original Lin Tian of the 10 Directions Heavenly Domain, has been analyzed and updated on Long's WeChat public account. Everyone, follow Long's WeChat public account and reply with the words reincarnation body. You will receive it. Chapter 2308. The 10 divine princes of the Luo clan were all supreme experts in the Great Void Realm. The weakest one was at the early stage of the Great Void Realm, while the strongest one was at the peak of the Great Void Realm. All of them had cultivated to the 5th stage of the Order Realm. Each of them was much stronger than the divine key of the past. However, Lin Tianji had killed all of them in the blink of an eye. Such combat strength was too frightening, causing the 5 elements crocodile and little grand primordium's hearts to palpitate as their eyes widened. Lin Tianji glanced at little Taichu and whooshing crocodile. He knew why they were shocked, but he did not say anything. Continue to guard the place seriously, he said to the generals of the Celestial Court. Then he left the place with whooshing crocodile and little Taichu. Not long after, he appeared in another place in the starry sky with whooshing crocodile and little Taichu. In front of them, there was a huge star in the starry sky. It was colorful and had a hazy aura. It was the 10 Directions ancient star. Dad, you're back. Just as he appeared with whooshing crocodile and little Taichu, a figure rushed out from the 10 Directions ancient star. It was Ruoxian. She had gone to the Tonghung ancient star with Wu Yi and brought Jiang Lolua's family back to the 10 Directions ancient star. When she sensed Lin Tianji's aura, she rushed out immediately. Dad, your aura? You've reached the Great Void Realm? Ruoxian rushed to Lin Tianji's side. In the next moment, she was shocked again. Lin Tianji had just reached the peak of the Void Transformation Realm not long ago. She did not expect him to reach the Great Void Realm now. Just reached it? Lin Tianji smiled and looked at his precious daughter dotingly. Then, he did not stay outside the 10 Directions ancient star. He, Ruoxian, whooshing crocodile, and little Taichu stepped into the 10 Directions ancient star. Stepping into the 10 Directions ancient star, he went directly to the celestial court of the 9th heaven. When he returned to this place, Wu, Yi, Jiyu, and the others were outside the celestial court. They naturally sensed his return. When Ruoxian rushed out of the celestial court to welcome him, they were waiting for him outside the celestial court. Zhang Luoluo was with them. Lin Tianji's Zhang Luoluo spoke. After so many years had passed, she became more and more lovely, not at all inferior to Bai Qiu, Jiyu, and the others. She looked at Lin Tian and said, "Thank you for asking the older sisters to help us." The 10 Directions ancient star was calm. There were no heavenly soldiers or generals of the celestial court. That was because the heavenly soldiers and generals were killed by the celestial court experts who were guarding the starry sky. However, Zhang Luoluo had received news about the celestial court and the great calamity from the celestial court. Now, as soon as the celestial court started the great calamity, Lin Tianji asked Wu Yi, Jiyu, and the others to go to the 10 Directions ancient star and bring them all to the safest place in the universe. This made her feel grateful and touched. "It's good that you're fine," Lin Tianji replied with a smile. He and Zhang Luoluo had traveled together and fought together. They were both friends and comrades in arms. Then he called a group of people and walked into the celestial court. This was the real headquarters of the celestial court. The celestial spiritual chi inside was very dense. It occupied a large area. Usually, there were many immortal soldiers and generals coming and going inside. However, it was empty and quiet at this time. This was because the immortal soldiers and generals of the Celestial Court were much stronger than the immortal soldiers and generals of the other branches. They were all sent to various corners of the universe to take care of the overall situation, leading Wu, Gu, and the others. He went straight to the huge training field in the Celestial Court. He propped up his perfect world and released Ning Yi and Shui Shui and everyone in the small village in the barren world. Sister Wu Yi and Shui Shui saw Wu Yi as soon as she came out of the perfect world. She pounced on her with shining eyes. From the first time they met, she had been full of respect and yearning for Wu Yi. She was already familiar with the environment of the Celestial Court. She knew where she was and wasn't surprised. Wu Yi chuckled and nodded at her. Almost at the same time, Ning Yi and the others were released. They were somewhat surprised and couldn't help but look around. Brother Tian, is this the Celestial Court of the 10 Directions Celestial Domain you mentioned? A young man called Erju spoke. He was from the village in the barren world. He looked at Lin Tian now and then saw Wu Yi. He quickly bowed and said, "Sister-in-law." "Hello, sister-in-law." At the side, the other dozen or so young men were very strong. When they saw Wu Yi, they hurriedly went forward to greet him. Wu Yi and Lin Tian lived in the village for several years. They were taught cultivation by Lin Tian, so they naturally saw Wu Yi. They even witnessed the wedding of Lin Tian and Wu Yi. They also saw the youngest Ruoxian. Wu Yi smiled and nodded at the group of people. He naturally recognized these people. Lin Tian looked at them and then at Ning Yi and the others. He briefly introduced them to each other. Then, he propped up the perfect world and moved the dozens of mountains and territories out of the perfect world. The dozens of mountains were densely packed with ancient Tao patterns. They all looked extraordinary. These ancient Tao patterns are not simple. They contain extraordinary Tao rhyme. You can all comprehend them. It will be very beneficial, he said to the group. As he spoke, the group's eyes fell on the ancient Tao patterns on the dozens of mountains. Except for little Taichu and Wuxing Crocodile, who knew about the existence of these ancient Tao patterns, the others couldn't help but be moved. Even someone as strong as Wu Yi couldn't help but have a slight change in her eyes. She clearly felt that these ancient Tao patterns were extraordinary. Use the heavenly secret divine skill to deduce where Zhu and the others are now. I'll go and find them. He looked at Yin Yu. He knew that Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others had left the 10 Directions ancient star to fight. He said, "Let's find them first and let them comprehend these ancient Tao patterns. In a short time, their combat strength should increase greatly. Then they can go and fight again. This way, their combat effectiveness will be much greater." As he said this, his eyes suddenly narrowed and he stopped talking. He looked outside the ancient planet. At the same time, Wu Yi, who was beside him, also looked out of the starry sky. They actually found this place. Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. In an instant, he disappeared and appeared outside the 10 Directions ancient star. Boom! Killing formations and killing markings intertwined around the 10 directional ancient stars. These were all new killing formations that he created with his Void Transformation Realm cultivation base. Then, he used the Heavenly One Soul Mantra and Wu Yi's Soul Reincarnation Realm cultivation base to engrave them here. At this moment, they were activated by the Immortal Court generals guarding the area. Boundless killing aura surged. Among them, there were 20 young men and 50 old men. Their cultivation bases ranged from the Absolute Void Realm to the Soul Reincarnation Realm. Celestial Emperor, there are new intruders. They are much stronger than the previous batch. I'm afraid it will be difficult to kill them in a short time. An Immortal Court general reported. At the same time, in the dense killing formations, the 20 young men and 50 old men in the Soul Reincarnation Realm saw Lin Tian. Their eyes turned cold. "Reincarnation body," someone said in a deep voice. Chapter 2309. Lin Tian was not very familiar with the 50 elders in the killing formation. However, he knew about the other 20 young men in the killing formation. They were the 10 Shensis of the 9 Nether lineage and the Underworld lineage. Previously, when he had killed the 10 divine princes of the Rakshasa race in another star zone, he had thought that the people of the heavenly court would eventually find this place since they had been searching for him. However, he had not expected them to find him so quickly. Rumble! Outside the 10 Directions ancient star, dozens of killing formations were boiling. These killing formations were created by him and Wu Yi. Each of them was incomparably powerful. Even though the generals of the immortal court couldn't exert their full power, the killing power intertwined by these killing formations was still extremely terrifying and shook the 8 desolates. The 10 Shensis from the 9 Nether bloodline and the 10 Shensis from the Underworld bloodline were in the middle. The 50-soul reincarnation stage elders were in the middle. At this moment, they were in an extremely passive position under the dozens of killing arrays. Reincarnation body, setting up killing formations, is nothing. Do you dare to fight? The first Shensis of the 9 Nether lineage said coldly. His rank 5 divine power of order circled around him. However, this was nothing at all. The first Shensis of the 9 Nether lineage, who was at the peak of the Great Void stage, was nothing in front of these killing formations. If it were not for the help of the soul reincarnation realm elders from the 9 Nether lineage, he and the other 9 Shensis of the 9 Nether lineage would have been defeated by these killing formations. You, who are known as the Supreme Monarch body and also possess the legendary Eye of Destiny, do you not dare to fight with us? The first Shensis of the Underworld lineage said coldly. Lin Tian stood outside the 10 Directions ancient star. His eyes were calm and indifferent. He raised his right hand slightly and signaled the generals of the Celestial Court to stop operating the killing formation. The generals of the Celestial Court did not hesitate. They immediately quieted down the killing formation after their leader gave the order. In an instant, the killing formation in this place dispersed. The 50-soul reincarnation realm elders from the Netherworld and the 9 Netherworld, the 10 god princes from the Netherworld clan, and the 10 god princes from the 9 Netherworld clan could not help but relax. The first divine son of the Underworld clan spoke. His gaze fell on Lin Tian as he coldly said, "Not bad. You have a soul, boom." The dozens of killing arrays that had just fallen silent were activated once again. Their murderous aura filled the sky, as if they were about to disintegrate the entire starry sky. At this moment, Lin Tian controlled the killing formation and activated it with the Heavenly One Soul incantation. The killing aura exuded by the killing formation was hundreds of times stronger than the killing aura released by the generals of the Immortal Court. You're going back on your word. You don't dare to fight us face to face. Coward. The expressions of the 10 Shensis of the Underworld clan and the 10 Shensis of the Underworld clan all changed. Lin Tian had ordered the immortal generals to silence the killing formation here. They thought that Lin Tian had really removed the killing formation and was going to fight them head-on. However, they didn't expect that in the next moment, the killing formation that had just been silenced was actually activated by Lin Tian himself. Its killing power was even more terrifying. Lin Tian looked at these people and was too lazy to say anything to them. With a single thought, the dozens of killing formations started to boil. With his current combat strength, it would be very easy for him to kill these 2 people. However, since there were killing formations here, why wouldn't he use them? The 2 of them had only said a few words, and he was really going to fight them face to face? He was not that dumb. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out. At this moment, he personally controlled the dozens of killing formations in this place and activated them with the Heavenly One Soul incantation. Instantly, boundless killing aura spread out and enveloped the 2 god princes. You puff! Puff! Blood splattered everywhere. The number 1 god princes from the Netherworld clan and the 9 Netherworld clan exploded immediately. Their divine souls were also annihilated. He looked at the other 9 god princes from the Netherworld clan and the 9 Netherworld clan in the killing formation and controlled the killing aura to suppress them. Puff! 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 Blood splattered everywhere. These 18 people could not withstand the killing aura at all and were all killed instantly. In the blink of an eye, only 50 soul reincarnation realm elders were left in the killing formation. At the same time, Wu Yi, Ruoxian, and the others stepped out of the 10 Directions ancient star and appeared beside him. You're not even in the Tao fusion realm. How dare you act so presumptuously here? You're courting death. Ruoxian snorted. She knew how meticulous the arrangements outside the 10 Directions ancient star were. All the killing formations were set up by her parents. Even an early-stage Tao fusion realm expert might not be able to break through them. These killing formations, and Shui and Jiang Luoluo also came along. When they saw the killing formations outside the 10 Directions ancient star, they could not help but gasp. The killing aura was too terrifying. Boom! Dozens of killing formations shook. Rays of killing aura shot out and shook the 10 Directions ancient star. Reincarnation body. Beast. The 50-soul reincarnation realm elders from the Netherworld clan and the 9 Netherworld clan roared. They came here with 10 god princes from each clan because they received news that Lin Tian, the reincarnation body, was here. They came here to suppress Lin Tian. However, they had never expected that the 10 divine princes of their respective factions would all be killed by Luo Yunyang. The 10 strongest people of their respective lineages were all super geniuses with amazing bloodlines. Their bloodlines were even stronger than the chaotic body, but they had all been killed on this day. How great of a loss was that? At this moment, the 50 people's eyes turned red, and they almost went crazy. Kill! The 50 people roared and attacked the killing formations crazily. They stared at Lin Tian with bloodshot eyes, as if they wanted to eat Lin Tian alive. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. He circulated the heavenly one-soul technique and activated the killing formations even more. These dozens of killing formations were created by him and Wu Yi. They were set up by the two of them together. At this moment, as he activated the killing formations even more, the killing aura emitted by them naturally became even more frightening. Like a vast ocean of murderous intent, the unparalleled killing light pressed down on the 50-soul reincarnation stage elders. The 50-soul reincarnation realm elders roared and resisted with all their might. Rays of Tao light and order light shot out. However, these killing formations were personally activated by Lin Tian. The killing aura they emitted was not something the immortal court generals could compare to. The resistance of the dozens of people was completely useless at this moment. The Tao light and order light that the 50-soul reincarnation realm experts produced were all suppressed in the blink of an eye. Pooh! 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 Chapter 23:10. The killing aura was unbridled, surging violently. Among the dozens of killing arrays, only 13 elders were left. They had survived the killing aura, but all of them were in a sorry state, covered in blood. You guys are quite resilient. Lin Tian looked at these 13 people and felt that their cultivation bases were at the end of the middle stage soul reincarnation realm. They were only a hair's breadth away from reaching the peak of the soul reincarnation realm. With this level of cultivation and the special bloodline of the 9 netherworlds and the underworld bloodline, it was not surprising that they could withstand the killing aura just now. As he said this, he used the heavenly one soul art to activate the killing array here again, and an even stronger killing aura erupted. For a time, endless killing aura surged out with a rumbling sound. Each killing aura seemed to be able to destroy everything. The unparalleled killing aura immediately enveloped the 13 people and pressed down mightily. The 13 people's eyes were crimson red as they roared furiously. Strands of the light of order surrounded them and faced the killing aura. It was also at this moment that the starry sky rumbled, and 2 old men suddenly appeared. One of them was dressed in a gray robe, while the other was dressed in a golden armor. The moment they appeared, they shook the entire sky with violent energy, and the surging killing light that Lin Tian had unleashed was completely shattered. This is Whooshing Crocodile, and the other's expressions changed. Lin Tian's pupils constricted. Tao Fusion Realm. His current strength was extraordinary, and when he was searching for the 10th divine son of the Yellow Spring clan, he recognized the 2 old men who had suddenly appeared. They were the Tao Fusion Realm Supreme Elders of the 9 Netherworld clan and the Underworld clan. The killing aura was shattered. Within the killing array, the 13 soul reincarnation elders of the 9 netherworlds and the underworld bloodline were pleasantly surprised. Then, their eyes were filled with killing intent again. Grand Elder, our divine sons were all killed by the reincarnation body's killing array. The divine sons of my clan also. These soul reincarnation elders reported to the Tao Fusion Realm Grand Elders of their respective bloodlines. They all clenched their fists. What? Upon hearing these reports, the expressions of the 2 Tao Fusion Realm experts who had appeared in this place changed drastically. The 10 divine princes of their respective clans had found out that Lin Tian, the reincarnated being, lived here and had come here to suppress Lin Tian. Just in case, after the 10 divine princes and dozens of elders of their respective clans had rushed here, the 2 of them had also followed. However, they had never expected to hear such news when they arrived here. All the divine princes of their respective clans had died. That was the future strongest fighting force of their respective clans. For a moment, the eyes of the 2 Tao Fusion Realm experts turned scarlet, just like the Soul Revolution Realm elders. Bastard! Their eyes were filled with murderous intent as they stared at Lin Tian. At the same time, they raised their hands and mercilessly pressed down on Lin Tian. It also enveloped Wu Yi, Ruoxian, and Little Taichu. The boundless pressure was terrifying to hear. The peak of the Tao Fusion Realm. Lin Tian was immediately moved. He had never thought that these 2 people's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Tao Fusion Realm. Immediately, he activated the dozens of killing formations here with all his strength, causing them to vibrate and release boundless killing light toward the 2 people. It was as if they could disintegrate everything. However, these 2 elders were too tyrannical. Both of them were at the peak of the Tao Fusion Realm. The killing formations here were still a little strenuous to deal with people of this level. The killing light released by the dozens of killing formations was constantly shattered. It was to the extent where the dozens of killing formations he and Wu Yi had worked together to carve here started to show cracks one after another. Reincarnation body, you won't have a good ending. Everyone around you will die. Within the killing formation, the 13 Soul Revolution Realm elders said coldly, their eyes filled with ruthlessness. The grand elders of their respective clans had arrived. They were all at the peak of the Tao Fusion Realm and were much stronger than Lin Tian and the others. Moreover, they could completely suppress the dozens of killing formations here. At this moment, they looked at Lin Tian and the others as if they were looking at corpses. Lin Tian's expression became very heavy. Beside him, Little Taichu and the others were no exception. The situation in front of them was too terrible. Rumble! Within the killing formations, boundless killing lights surged. Lin Tian activated the dozens of killing formations to their limits, and the killing power shook the surroundings. However, against people at the peak of the Tao Fusion Realm, these killing formations could only barely resist and were useless. He gritted his teeth and continued to activate the dozens of killing formations. At the same time, he opened his Eye of Destiny, and boundless providence immediately appeared. The Eye of Destiny. Suddenly, a vigorous voice rang out, causing the entire starry sky to tremble. Above the killing formations, 2 figures appeared. One was a hale and hearty silver-haired middle-aged man, and the other was a pretty silver-haired woman. Both of them were very energetic. This was especially so for the silver-haired middle-aged man. Although he looked like a middle-aged man, his eyes were extremely deep and weathered. They were like 2 eternal black holes. Just by standing there, the starry sky seemed to be suppressed. The boundless starlight in the starry sky seemed to tremble at this moment. Seeing these 2 people, Lin Tian was immediately moved. Especially when he looked at the silver-haired middle-aged man. His pupils involuntarily constricted. He had sensed this middle-aged man's aura before. Back in the Void World, when he, the Emperor of Fairy Spirit, and Fengshen Tianzuan had gone to the space-time space left behind by the Human King, the Emperor of Fairy Spirit had summoned a wisp of his soul shadow. The aura of that soul shadow was exactly the same as this silver-haired middle-aged man, but it was much weaker. At the same time, he looked at the silver-haired woman. Her aura of origin was very similar to little Taichu's. Yeah. Little Taichu's eyes widened. At this moment, he stared at the silver-haired middle-aged man, then looked straight at the silver-haired woman. On the side, Ruoxian, Jiyu Baiqiu, and the others were also moved. Even Wu Yi's eyes could not help but twitch slightly. At the same time, in the killing array, the two Dao Fusion Realm Supreme Elders of the Nine Serenities bloodline and the Underworld bloodline both changed their expressions. The old demon of the Fairy Spirit clan. You. One of them spoke, his voice trembling slightly. Beside him, the other 13 elders were all trembling. It really is. Lin Tian's eyes moved again. This silver-haired middle-aged man was the ancestor of the Fairy Spirit Royal clan, the powerful existence that the Celestial Court called the Old Demon. At this moment, looking at this silver-haired middle-aged man, he finally understood why a tyrannical clan like the Heaven Protectors was so afraid of the little Taichu's ancestor, and why they were so concerned about the bloodline of the Fairy Spirit Royal clan. This silver-haired middle-aged man, the ancestor of the Fairy Spirit Royal clan, was actually at the origin returning realm. He was even stronger than the strongest existences of the Nine Serenities, Yellow Springs, Underworld, and Rakshasa races. At the same time, the others beside him were also shocked. Yes, Uncle Taichu's. Chapter 23:11. Everyone, including Lin Tian and Wu Yi, was moved. The ancestor of the immortal spirit royal family actually appeared at this time. Yeah, little Taichu said, and its eyes widened. It stared at the ancestor of its clan, then looked at the silver-haired woman beside him, and its eyes lit up slightly. Almost at the same time, the silver-haired woman's gaze naturally fell on little Taichu, and in a flash, she arrived in front of little Taichu. Hugged. The woman looked very young and was full of vitality. With a gentle smile on her face, she stretched out her hands toward little Taichu. Little Taichu blinked and responded in a childish voice. It immediately pounced over and rubbed against the woman's body. Its face was full of happiness, and its big, bright eyes curved into small crescent moons. The resonance of the bloodline fluctuation and the incomparably close connection to the origin made it without doubt that this was its biological mother. After so many years, it was the first time it saw its mother. The woman's smile was even gentler. She had lived for countless years, but at this time, she was like a young girl, hugging little Taichu. Just like little Taichu, she also showed a face of happiness. The little guy finally saw its mother. Whooshing Crocodile said from the side, "Congratulations, Uncle Taichu." Ruoxian also said. Lin Tian saw that the little guy was meeting its mother at this time and couldn't help but feel happy for the little guy. Little Taichu lay on the silver-haired woman's body with a happy face, then quickly reacted and pulled the silver-haired woman to Lin Tian's side. It introduced Lin Tian to the silver-haired woman, and then introduced Wu Yi, Ruoxian, and Ji Yu to the silver-haired woman. Lin Tian, thank you for taking care of my child, the silver-haired woman said and thanked Lin Tiandao. She looked very young, and her voice was very magnetic. Then she also thanked Wu Yi and the others. Senior, you're too polite. Lin Tiandao. Almost at the same time, swooshing sounds could be heard. The two Dao Fusion Realm Supreme Elders of the Nine Netherworld clan and the Underworld clan who had come to this place retreated. They turned into two beams of light and rushed into the distance. In the blink of an eye, they were already far away. At the same time, the 13 soul reincarnation realm experts who were still alive also fled. At this time, with the appearance of the little Taichu's progenitor, these people no longer dared to stay here because they knew how terrifying the progenitor was. Even their strongest experts couldn't stop him. The immortal spirit ancestor looked in the direction where the dozen or so people had fled. She did not say anything, but a faint but extremely terrifying aura surged out of her body and spread out like ripples in water. In the blink of an eye, puff, 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 blood exploded one by one. Without exception, the dozen or so people exploded at the first moment. His divine soul was also annihilated, completely erased from this world. This scene caused Lin Tian to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. As expected of the immortal spirit Imperial clan's progenitor. As expected of the old demon that even the heaven protectors were afraid of. He actually killed those dozen or so people so easily. However, when he remembered that the progenitor's cultivation was at the origin realm, he quickly understood. With such a cultivation, it was naturally very easy for him to kill 2 Dao Fusion Realm cultivators and 13 Soul Reincarnation Realm cultivators. At this time, a faint light flashed. The immortal spirit ancestor stepped forward and appeared in front of him. He looked at his eyes without blinking. The Eye of Destiny. This is the first time I've seen it. Not bad. To be able to control this pair of eyes, young man, you're really amazing. Looking at Lin Tian's eyes up close, the origin realm progenitor's eyes couldn't help but become even more profound. Senior, you're too kind, Lin Tian said humbly, and at the same time, bowed slightly to the progenitor. I'm not deliberately praising you. It's just the truth. The immortal spirit ancestor patted Lin Tian's shoulder in a very candid manner. Lin Tian maintained his humble smile. After a pause, he ordered the immortal generals of the immortal court to continue guarding this place seriously. Then, he invited the immortal spirit ancestor into the immortal court of 10 directions. Inside the immortal court, the little Taichu and his mother met for the first time. From beginning to end, he lay on his mother's body with a face full of happiness. Lin Tian felt that children were indeed the closest to their mothers. When the little guy reunited with his father, the immortal spirit Imperial Lord, he was far less happy to see his mother now. He smiled and didn't mind. After chatting with the immortal spirit ancestor about many things, he soon found out the immortal spirit ancestor had been in seclusion all this time. Little Taichu's mother was guarding her. She'd just broken through to the origin realm not long ago. Old senior, since you're so strong now, why don't we just kill our way to the main clans of those clans and annihilate them? The whooshing crocodile couldn't help but speak up when it heard Lin Tian and the immortal spirit ancestor's conversation. It was itching to make a move. From Lin Tian, it had already found out about the strength of the 9 underworlds, Underworld, Yellow Springs, and Rakshasa of 4 great ancient clans. The strongest person in the clans was only at the rebirth realm, far from being as strong as the immortal spirit ancestor. Jiyu, Baiqiu, Yinyamur, and the others couldn't help but look at the immortal spirit ancestor. It shouldn't be that simple. Those clans have existed for too long. The main clans are in a super great world countless times larger than the celestial realm of nothingness. There must be many shocking arrangements inside. It won't be that easy to destroy. Lin Tian on Dao. The immortal spirit ancestor looked at Lin Tian and nodded slightly. She praised, "Young man, you understand very well." He continued, "Although the strongest of those clans are only at the rebirth realm, and to me they're not a threat at all. However, the great world they have established is not simple at all. If I were to recklessly step into it, I reckon it will be very difficult for me to walk out again." The whooshing crocodile was somewhat disappointed. At the same time, it felt even more strongly about the terrifying power of those clans. Even the immortal spirit ancestor, who was at the origin realm, said that if you recklessly stepped in, you might not be able to walk out. Lin Tian had already guessed this. His expression didn't change as he continued to chat with the immortal spirit ancestor. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. In these 3 days, Lin Tian and the immortal spirit ancestor talked about many things and learned many things. At the same time, he asked the immortal spirit ancestor to carve a 10,000 burial formation outside the 10 directions ancient star with his origin realm cultivation. It was enough to kill anyone below the origin realm. In the process, the immortal spirit ancestor saw the ancient runes on the dozens of mountains that Lin Tian brought back and placed in the immortal court's arena. She recognized that they were indeed left by an ancient origin realm existence. Then, she left her own Taoist rhymes in this place for the immortal court to comprehend. At the same time, She passed on some of her cultivation experience to Lin Tian. Thank you, Senior. Lin Tian thanked her sincerely. The Taoist rhymes left by the immortal spirit ancestor were freshly left behind. It was much more useful than the runes on the mountains. It was very helpful in comprehending the Tao. Moreover, the other party's cultivation experience was of great significance to him. No worries. Consider it a thank you gift for taking care of my clan's little one. The immortal spirit ancestor smiled faintly. She said goodbye and left the 10 Directions ancient star to do some other things. Little Taichu's mother didn't leave with the immortal spirit ancestor. She stayed in the 10 Directions ancient star. After all, the immortal spirit ancestor had already come out of seclusion. There was no need for anyone to protect her. It's still the same thing as before. Deduce the specific whereabouts of the white-headed pig, the hero, and the others. I'll find them one by one and study the runes I brought back, as well as the Taoist rhymes left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor. Chapter 23:12. The ancient runes and seals on the dozens of mountains brought back from the desert world were very amazing. They were left behind by true origin realm powerhouses. If one were to comprehend them carefully, the benefits would definitely be huge. Moreover, before the immortal spirit ancestor left, he left behind a thick Tao rhythm in the immortal court. It was even more shocking than the ancient Tao patterns. If one comprehended the two together and used the Tao rhythm of others to stimulate one's own body, the benefits would be even greater. Lin Tian's idea was very simple. Now, he would first find Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others who were fighting outside. He would leave some of the immortal soldiers and immortal generals of the immortal court to guard the starry sky, and summon the rest of the immortal soldiers and immortal generals to comprehend the runes and seals together. In a short time, everyone's strength would increase greatly, and then they would continue to fight. The results would definitely be much better than now. This was the so-called sharpening the axe doesn't delay the work of cutting firewood. Yin Yimmer understood what Lin Tian meant. She immediately used the divine divination technique to deduce the exact location of Bai Ziki and the others. She then told Lin Tian in detail. Okay. Lin Tian nodded. On this day, he Little Tai Chu, 5 elemental crocodile, and the others left together. According to Yin Yub-er's deduction, it only took them 3 days to find Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others and bring them back to the immortal court. At the same time, he ordered Yi Tong, Little Fox, and Snow Wolf to summon about 10% of the immortal soldiers and immortal generals of the immortal court back to the main clan of the immortal court in the ninth heaven. He wanted them to comprehend the ancient runes and the Tao charm left behind by the ancestor of the immortal spirit race. Comprehend it seriously. You have 3 months to comprehend it. After 3 months, other disciples of the immortal court will come to comprehend it. He said to the immortal soldiers and immortal generals, "Yes, thank you, Lord Immortal Emperor." All the immortal soldiers and generals shouted in unison. Their eyes were filled with reverence. They could see that the Tao patterns and the Tao rhythm left behind by the immortal spirit progenitor were amazing. Their leader had called them back from the battlefield to share with them such a treasure trove. This moved all the immortal soldiers and generals. When they recalled how their leader would always bring back all kinds of heavenly treasures, ancient scriptures, and divine techniques after he went out to battle, he would hand them over to them without asking them to pay anything. Moreover, he would personally guide them in cultivation and help them solve all kinds of doubts they had on the path of cultivation. When they recalled all of this, the group of immortal soldiers and immortal generals were even more moved. They were all excited to have such a leader, and their eyes could not help but flicker. We will follow Sir Immortal Emperor for all eternity. Even if they die on the battlefield, they will still be soldiers of the immortal court if there is a next life. A powerful immortal general couldn't help but roar. I will follow the Immortal Emperor for all eternity. I will follow the Immortal Emperor for all eternity. I will follow the Immortal Emperor for all eternity. For a moment, all the immortal soldiers and generals shouted in unison. Their eyes were solemn, as if they were swearing to the heavens with their souls. Xianwang, crocodile ancestor, Shinqi, Mu Xingshu, and the others have been called back. When they saw this scene, their eyes lit up. Little Chu Chu, the young man who raised you is really good. Little Taichu's mother hugged little Taichu and said so. Her tone was always like a young girl. Yeah, little Taichu responded, his big eyes curved. He was very happy that his mother praised Lin Tian. The voices of the oath echoed in the immortal court. Lin Tian raised his hand, and the immortal soldiers and generals immediately quieted down. Good, he said, time is of the essence. Start cultivating. The martial arts field of the main immortal court was very vast. Dozens of mountains with ancient Tao patterns were placed on the martial arts field by him. The origin returning Tao rhyme left by the immortal spirit ancestor was here, and the Bodhi tree was also placed on this martial arts field by him. On this day, he Wu Yi, Ruoxian, Jiyu by Ziki, Ling Yun, Little Taichu, Xianwang, crocodile ancestor, and the others all began to comprehend the ancient Tao patterns and the Tao rhyme left by the immortal spirit ancestor. In this martial arts field, all kinds of strange lights intertwined, dyeing the sky with colorful lights. Buzz! The Reincarnation Heart Sutra circulated. After comprehending the ancient Tao patterns on the dozens of mountains, Lin Tian continued to comprehend them. At the same time, he also comprehended the origin returning Tao rhyme left by the immortal spirit ancestor. Suddenly, the nine-colored holy light intertwined in his body. As time passed, it gradually became more and more resplendent. As he comprehended these ancient Tao patterns and the Tao rhyme left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor, his divine sense of origin sank into these ancient Tao patterns and the Tao rhyme left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor. He only felt that the world had become clearer and everything had become clearer. This was a very transparent feeling. He followed this feeling to circulate his holy power. His understanding of the Tao rhyme in the ancient Tao patterns and the Tao rhyme left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor continued to deepen. His essence, energy, and spirit were strengthened bit by bit. At the same time, his cultivation base was also increasing. Moreover, the speed of improvement was very fast. Then, in the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Half a month later, on this day, there was an extremely strong holy aura intertwined in his body. As he comprehended the ancient Tao patterns on the dozens of mountains, the rich Tao rhyme left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor, and the cultivation experience given to him by the immortal spirit ancestor, his cultivation base reached the intermediate stage of the Great Void Realm on this day. His essence, energy, and spirit had an astonishing change, and it was many times stronger. In this regard, he could feel it. He did not stop there. Instead, he circulated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra even faster. He continued to comprehend the ancient Tao patterns on the dozens of mountains and the rich Tao rhyme left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor. He continued to cultivate. In this way, a month passed quickly. A month later, with a rumble, another majestic holy power surged in his body, and his cultivation base improved greatly again. The peak of the Great Void Realm, he muttered to himself, and a light flashed in his eyes. At the same time, in this martial arts field, the holy aura was constantly skyrocketing. The others were also improving rapidly. Ascension Realm, 3rd level. Lord Crocodile is about to step into the ancient ancestor realm. Whooshing crocodile's howl could be heard. According to the division of cultivation base, from the 4th to the 6th level of Ascension Realm, they were collectively referred to as Ancient Ancestor. Now that it had reached the 3rd level of Ascension Realm, it was only one step away from entering the 4th level of Ascension Realm and becoming an Ancient Ancestor. Lord Tiger too, White Tiger said together, like whooshing crocodile, with a face full of excitement. The Tao rhyme left behind by the true realm powerhouse was very amazing. Moreover, Lin Tian also passed on the cultivation experience that the immortal spirit ancestor gave to him, to everyone. Therefore, in more than a month, everyone's progress was very huge. Lin Tian looked at the group and felt that they had all made great progress. Their combat strength had increased a lot compared to more than a month ago. Naturally, he was happy. After calming down, he re-immersed himself in cultivation. In the blink of an eye, another half a month passed. After half a month, his essence, chi, and spirit had improved a lot. His cultivation base had reached the peak of the Great Void stage. At this time, he realized that it was useless to continue to comprehend the ancient Tao patterns and the Tao rhyme left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor. After all, everything had a limit. If he continued to comprehend these things now, it would be difficult for him to improve his cultivation base. Chapter 23:13. The nameless Tao was a Tao that he had comprehended when he was half a step into the great Tao. Over the years, Lin Tianyi had been trying to comprehend it, but he was still unable to comprehend what kind of Tao it was. Even though he knew that it was very powerful, because he was unable to comprehend what kind of Tao it was, he gradually stopped using it in battle because it was difficult for him to unleash its true power. However, now, with the comprehension of the ancient Tao pattern seals on the dozens of mountains and the ancient Tao pattern seals left behind by the immortal spirit ancestor, his cultivation level had increased greatly, reaching the peak of the Great Void stage. More importantly, his understanding of the world and his own body had become more and more thorough, and the nameless Tao in his body had also become clearer in his perception at this moment. "I could do it this time." Light intertwined in his eyes. At this moment, he was almost certain that he would be able to comprehend the nameless Tao this time. Immediately, the Reincarnation Heart Sutra began to circulate on its own. His essence, chi, and spirit were completely thrown into his nameless Tao. As he completely merged his essence, energy, and spirit into his nameless Tao to comprehend, his divine sense seemed to have been pulled out of his body and entered a hazy world, just like how he had comprehended the nameless Tao in the past. This great world was extremely vast. His divine sense resided in it. Time passed very quickly, like sand flowing between his fingers. As a result, just like before, he saw day and night change in the blink of an eye. He saw the 4 seasons rapidly change. He saw flowers bloom and wither, then wither and gradually regenerate. Everything in the world cycled like the sun rising and setting. His divine sense, or rather his will, completely resided in this world, transforming into his own appearance. He watched the scenes as he traveled in this world, rapidly experiencing the changes of day and night, the alternation of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. He watched as the flowers and trees grew and withered, then withered and reborn again. The cycle was endless. In the past, when he saw these scenes, he did not understand them very well. However, at this moment, these simple scenes caused his heart to tremble again and again. His divine sense gradually became more and more crystalline. He walked through this world. This world was extremely silent. It seemed like a dream, but it also seemed like reality. His soul consciousness became even more translucent. In his perception, this vast and boundless world gradually became clearer. It seemed like layers of thin veils were being lifted, and he was getting closer to the essence. His divine sense transformed into his body and moved through this world. Gradually, he stood there quietly and looked at the entire world. Then, strands of light appeared in this world. It was vast and boundless, and it seemed to encompass everything in the world. Following that, simple scenes such as the alternation of day and night and the change of seasons quickly unfolded before his eyes. Time passed by day after day. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. During these 7 days, time flowed faster and faster in this great world. The Tao light in every corner grew thicker and thicker. All things cycle. As he walked through this hazy great world, he continuously watched the sun and moon change, as well as the 4 seasons. He muttered to himself on this day. As he whispered, the eyes of the body formed by his divine sense became incomparably bright and incomparably deep. The nameless Tao became clearer and clearer as he comprehended it. It was as if he would be able to comprehend it with just one more step. His eyes became even brighter. The Tao light that appeared in every corner of this world was the Tao light of the nameless Tao. At this moment, they began to boil and gather toward him, crazily fusing into his divine sense. A gust of wind suddenly appeared in this quiet great world. Within the wind, everything seemed to be mixed with it. He silently stood there. The body formed by his divine sense was completely fused with the nameless Tao light. His understanding of the nameless Tao light increased even more, and his eyes began to twitch. Cycle, cycle, all things cycle again and again, growing and multiplying endlessly, he muttered. His divine sense moved. It is, boundless light flowed, and the hazy great world suddenly changed. In an instant, it was no longer there, as if it had disappeared. His surroundings turned into another scene in the blink of an eye. It was a space that was like a desert. It was filled with the vicissitudes of time. It was dusky, and an ancient road seemed to originate from the origin of all Taos. It led to the eternal unknown. Countless souls walked on it, heading towards the end of the ancient road. The eternal ancient road gradually became blurry, transforming into endless turbidity. Humans, birds, animals, ghosts, everything was contained within the turbidity. He seemed to be able to see a gigantic wheel within, supporting the operation of the great heaven and earth. Looking at this scene, his divine sense body shook violently again. The nameless Tao light that entered his divine sense body surged even more violently. Cycle, cycle, these two words floated out of his mouth. The endless turbidity contained the huge wheel and rushed into his divine sense in a flash. His divine sense also returned to his body in an instant. His eyes suddenly became incomparably resplendent, and strands of Tao patterns appeared. Boom! The entire celestial lyceum shook. The nameless Tao light exploded, dazzling and resplendent. With him as the center, a shocking storm was formed. In an instant, everyone was awakened from their cultivation. They looked at Lin Tian, and then they were all greatly shocked. "Retreat!" Shun Qi shouted. At the same time, little Taichu's mother, Xian Huang, crocodile ancestor, Mu Xingshu, and the others also spoke one after another. Everyone in the martial arts practice field, including Wu Yi, quickly retreated and left the martial arts practice field in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, only Lin Tianyi was left in the training field of the Immortal Court, which was large enough to accommodate more than 10 billion people at the same time. Outside his body, the nameless Tao light was dazzling, as if it was undergoing a deep transformation. With him as the center, circles of Tao light intertwined, and hurricanes spread out one after another. Gradually, the nameless Tao light became extremely dazzling, and a vast and majestic aura intertwined. It was even more vast than the fortune of heaven and earth, as if it contained everything in heaven and earth. Sensing this aura, Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu's expressions immediately changed, and they couldn't help but tremble. Lun, reincarnation, aura. Wuxing Crocodile couldn't speak properly. In the past, Little Taichu and Lin Tian had mistakenly entered the reincarnation road and almost met with misfortune. They had clearly felt the aura of reincarnation. Now, Lin Tian's nameless Tao was no longer as hazy as before. At this moment, it seemed that the veil covering it had been lifted, and it was clearly emitting the same reincarnation aura as the reincarnation road. Boom! Dazzling Tao light intertwined. Lin Tian's eyes were deep as he sat cross-legged on the martial arts practice field. At this moment, he was like the master of heaven and earth. Vaguely, there seemed to be the sound of thousands of souls roaring out from his body, shaking the world. Vaguely, there seemed to be an endless broken world appearing around him, filled with the vicissitudes of time. Vaguely, there seemed to be a huge millstone suspended above his head, supporting heaven and earth. Strands of reincarnation light intertwined around his body, sacred, vast, and majestic. Finally, I've comprehended it. Chapter 23:14. Wu Yi had reached the peak of order cultivation in the Divine King realm. Her cultivation aptitude was rare. When she first saw Lin Tian's nameless Tao, she had a vague feeling and vaguely recognized Lin Tian's nameless Tao. However, at that time, she didn't tell Lin Tian what the nameless Tao was, and that Lin Tian needed to comprehend it himself. This Tao was very special and important. If Lin Tian didn't comprehend it himself, and was told in advance by someone else, it would affect the power of this Tao that Lin Tian controlled in the future. In the end, he might not even be able to comprehend its essence on his own. More than 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, in the immortal court, Lin Tian finally comprehended this Tao on his own. Boom! Billowing saint energy intertwined and shook the heavens. Lin Tian sat alone in the immortal court's martial arts arena. Reincarnation Tao light intertwined around him, and the light of reincarnation was extremely vast. He sat there cross-legged as if he was heaven and earth. That nameless Tao is actually reincarnation? Whooshing Crocodile was shocked. Reincarnation was the foundation of this greater heaven and earth, the supreme power of this greater heaven and earth. The Tao that Lin Tianyi had always controlled was reincarnation. Its voice spread everywhere, and the aura of the light of reincarnation was so obvious. Therefore, at this moment, everyone here instantly knew that Lin Tian's nameless Tao was reincarnation. They were all shocked. Father, it controls reincarnation? Ruoxian's eyes were filled with shock. Beside her, Shinqi, Mu Xingshu, Xian Wang, and the crocodile ancestor were also shocked. Jiyu, Bai Qiu, and the others were also shocked. Reincarnation was the foundation of this realm. Lin Tian actually controlled that supreme power. His Excellency, the immortal emperor controls reincarnation? The immortal soldiers and immortals of the immortal court couldn't help but tremble. Boom! Tao light surged and a hurricane swept across. On the martial arts arena, the reincarnation Tao light and light of reincarnation outside Lin Tian's body grew stronger with the passage of time. Reincarnation, he said. As he spoke, his eyes became extremely deep at this moment. It was as if he had seen through everything in the world at this moment. As the word reincarnation left his mouth, the reincarnation Tao light and reincarnation light outside his body boiled again. In all directions, everything was suppressed by the aura of reincarnation. He resided alone on the martial practice grounds while the reincarnation Tao glow and reincarnation light interweaved around his body. After he comprehended the nameless Tao as reincarnation, he was actually shocked in his heart. After all, reincarnation was too extraordinary, and it was capable of suppressing all forces in the world. The nameless Tao that he had always controlled was actually reincarnation. How could he not be shocked? However, he forcefully suppressed his shock and astonishment at this moment. He had comprehended the nameless Tao as reincarnation. Now, he needed to continue comprehending it seriously. Buzz! He sat cross-legged on the training grounds and continued to comprehend the Tao of reincarnation. Strands of Tao insight ceaselessly appeared in his heart. On this day, everything in the world became extremely clear at this moment. His hands began to move unconsciously, relying on his instinctive subconscious at this moment. He drew mysterious and unfathomable trajectories of Tao. For a time, the sky shook, the wind blew, and the clouds surged. The reincarnation Tao glow and reincarnation light outside his body became even stronger. It was as if a reincarnation volcano had erupted here. The terrifying aura of reincarnation spread out in waves. The void in all directions shook violently. Endless Tao glow appeared in the world at this moment, as if it had a consciousness of its own. It was as if it was afraid and panicked. It was also as if it was a subject, worshipping him from all directions. The Tao of heaven and earth is trembling in submission. Mu Xingshu's eyes kept flickering. The Tao surged and surrounded Lin Tian, trembling as if it had a consciousness of its own. Everyone could clearly feel it. Everyone's heart trembled at this scene. At this moment, Lin Tian, who controlled reincarnation, was like the master of the world. Buzz! The reincarnation light intertwined, and the reincarnation Tao glow surrounded him. Lin Tian suppressed the shock in his heart and continued to comprehend and deduce seriously. The trajectories of his hands became more and more mysterious and profound. The world seemed to pulse with his hands. At this moment, everything seemed to revolve around him. His eyes became deeper and deeper. As he continued to deduce and comprehend reincarnation, his essence, energy, and soul soared rapidly. It was also at this moment that a blurry image suddenly appeared in his mind. There was a bloody mist exploding, and there was a figure flying into the distance. Although it was incomparably blurry, it shook his mind, causing him to involuntarily tremble violently. Cough! The reincarnation Tao glow intertwined outside his body. In an instant, it became chaotic. His body trembled violently, and he couldn't help coughing out a mouthful of blood essence. Almost at the same time, in a barren mountain in the ninth heaven, a huge pit trembled, and a monstrous black light rushed out. It was mixed with extremely dense soul energy. In the center of the black light was a ball of crystal light. In the blink of an eye, it crossed the endless sky and appeared above the immortal court. Under the shocked eyes of everyone in the immortal court, it rushed into Lin Tian's body. Lin Tian trembled violently again. The extremely dense soul energy entered his body, causing his essence, energy, and soul to skyrocket. At the same time, the crystal light, nourished by the endless soul energy, rushed straight into his knowledge sea and slowly integrated into it. In an instant, more pictures emerged in his knowledge sea. They overlapped one by one and gradually became incomparably clear. He saw a peaceful small tribe. Not far from the tribe, there was a herd of sheep running. He saw strange and incomparably familiar faces. There were old people, middle-aged people, women, and children. They seemed to be smiling at him, warm and gentle. Then, the familiar faces cracked apart, and the bloody mist exploded one after another. The old, the young, the women, and the children disappeared one after another. The peaceful small tribe collapsed along with it. More than 10 figures stepped on the bloody mist and the remnants of the earth and disappeared into the distance. The reincarnation aura was completely chaotic. He coughed up blood again. The light of reincarnation splashed in all directions, and the myriad Tao trembled together. Around him, pieces of space were constantly annihilated. His eyes were completely red, blood vessels intertwined, filled with hatred and pain. He was like an injured beast, letting out a heart-wrenching roar. At the same time, although the aura outside his body was extremely chaotic, it was constantly skyrocketing, like a volcano erupting. Such a change caused everyone here to change their expressions. Father, Master, Brother, Boylin, what happened to you? Lord Immortal Emperor, Ruoxian, Yitong, the Little Fox, Lin Shi, the Violet Fairy, the Wuxing Crocodile, and the immortal soldiers and immortal generals couldn't help but speak. This sudden scene shocked everyone. Could it be? The white tiger trembled slightly, remembering Lin Tian in the battle in the illusory flame Star Ocean. His memories rumble. The chaotic reincarnation aura shook, and the surrounding space continued to collapse. On the training field, Lin Tian roared. His eyes were filled with hatred and pain. He was almost crazy. Suddenly, he rushed out of the immortal court. At the same time, the sky shook and thunder rumbled. Chapter 23:15. The thunder vortex stretched across the sky, and black lightning bolts shot out one after another. The aura of destruction was overwhelming. Heavenly tribulation. He stepped into the soul rebirth realm. The Wuxing Crocodile's expression changed again. But soon, this heavenly tribulation was ignored by it. Compared to the heavenly tribulation, Lin Tian's current situation made it more worried. Dad, where are you going? Ruoxian was anxious. This was the second time she saw her father like this. She was completely filled with anxiety and worry. Wu Yi also couldn't be as calm as usual. She pulled Ruoxian and instantly left the immortal court, chasing after Lin Tian. However, at this moment, Lin Tian's speed was too fast. Even someone as strong as her couldn't catch up with him. In an instant, she lost sight of Lin Tian. However, the thunder vortex in the sky was incomparably eye-catching. She took Ruoxian and chased down the thunder vortex. She knew very well that the thunder vortex was the convergence of the heavenly tribulation. Wherever the heavenly tribulation was, the center was where Lin Tian was. Boom! Thunder rumbled, shaking the heavens. Lin Tian had already left the immortal court far away. The reincarnation aura around his body was extremely chaotic. At this moment, he appeared in a barren mountain and stepped straight into a large pit. This was the most dangerous forbidden area in the ninth heaven. It was a true life forbidden zone that swallowed all life that stepped into it. Many Empyreans from the sealed dust ancient region who had invaded this territory died here. However, on this day, as he stepped into the pit, there was no fluctuation. The light of reincarnation intertwined around his body. Although it was chaotic, it illuminated the surroundings. At the bottom of the pit, there was a small spiritual domain. He stepped into the pit and directly stepped into the small spiritual domain. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the center of the spiritual domain. In front of him, there were broken ruins. There were stone debris with chips and rubble. He could vaguely tell that it was a small destroyed tribe. The chaotic aura of reincarnation intertwined around his body. He rushed here and looked at the broken ruins in front of him. His eyes turned red. In an instant, as if he had lost all his strength, he knelt down outside the ruins. His slender body couldn't stop trembling. Grandfather, third uncle, third aunt, Beibei, Xiongzi, looking at the broken ruins, his voice choked up as he called out a strange yet familiar word. Tears appeared in his eyes that were filled with pain and slid down his cheeks. Boom! Spirit realm suddenly shook as a destructive aura pressed down from the outside. Bolts of lightning could not help but appear in this spirit realm. However, in the next moment, the tremors disappeared along with the lightning arcs in the spirit realm. An old drunkard appeared in this spirit realm without a sound. Qing Xian, Fengshen Tianzuan, and the others followed him. Lin Tian felt something and looked back. His gaze fell on an old drunkard. He was stunned for a moment, and his body trembled. Master. His voice choked up even more as more tears gushed out. The vast amount of soul energy that had rushed into his body earlier had wrapped around his original memories. He recalled everything on this day. He was the 10th disciple of the human king. In order to take revenge, he had once done everything he could to become a reincarnation body. His master broke through the cycle of reincarnation and brought him into the cycle of reincarnation with his master's wife. He reincarnated on that day, and his master and wife reincarnated on that day. Now, looking at an old drunkard, although his appearance was different, he would never forget the familiar aura. This was his master, the human king. He had been his master in his previous life, and he was still his master in this life. An old drunkard slowly walked closer. His right hand landed on Lin Tian's head and then withdrew. He did not say anything, but his eyes were very gentle. Little 10, Qing Xian also came closer. Her eyes were filled with love and heartache. Little junior brother, Fengshen Tianzuan and Ao Jian Tianzuan came forward. Their eyes were filled with love and heartache. Little junior brother, it's really you. Celestial Lord Primal Chaos, Celestial Lord Solar, Celestial Lord Zonglong, Celestial Lord Taiyin, Celestial Lord Daorin, the Array Emperor, and the Medicine Emperor came forward. Their eyes were filled with the excitement of reunion. Not long ago, an old drunkard, Qing Xian, and the others found them. At that time, Fengshen Tianzuan had already told them that Lin Tian, whom they had met before, was their little junior brother. But now, seeing him for real, and Lin Tian had recovered his memories, they still could not hide their excitement. But soon, the 7 of them, like Qing Xian, Fengshen Tianzuan, and Ao Jian Tianzuan all showed heartache. Now that Lin Tian had recovered his memories, they knew that it was equivalent to experiencing the pain of the past all over again. Lin Tian looked at them and said in a choked voice, "Master's wife, eldest senior brother, second senior brother, third senior brother, ninth senior brother." Recalling everything that had happened in the past, he naturally recognized these people in front of him. The hatred of the past drowned him like endless darkness, causing him incomparable pain. At this moment, at this time, looking at them, he seemed to find a wisp of warm fire in the darkness. More tears flowed uncontrollably. He raised his hand to wipe them away, but as soon as he wiped them away, new tears flowed out. The pain brought by hatred made his tears flow like a torrent that could not be stopped. "Cry if you want. No one will laugh at you," an old drunkard said. Lin Tian allowed his tears to fall. He looked at the ruins in front of him again and knelt down in front of the ruins. It was also at this time that Wu Yi stepped into the spirit realm with Ruoxian. Jiyu, Bai Qiu, Shui Yi, Su Shu, Lin Shi, Violet Fairy, Yin Yu and the others followed closely behind. Some powerful immortal generals also stepped into the spirit realm. They instantly saw Lin Tian. "Father, Master, Lin Tian, brother, Lord Immortal Emperor." Everyone spoke one after another. Their gazes all fell on Lin Tian. At this time, they completely ignored an old drunkard and the others. Even though some of them already knew that an old drunkard was the legendary human king, they did not care at all. At this time, all of them were more concerned about Lin Tian. Hearing the familiar voices, Lin Tian trembled. He knew that Wu Yi and Ruoxian had arrived, but he did not turn around. He did not make a sound. He did not want them to see him cry. "Father!" Looking at Lin Tian's back, Ruoxian panicked. They were connected by blood. At this moment, she could clearly feel her father's pain. She immediately ran towards Lin Tian. An old drunkard raised his hand and stopped her. As a master, he naturally knew what his disciple was thinking. "Grandmaster, let me pass." Ruoxian did not understand why an old drunkard stopped her. "Let him have some peace," an old drunkard said gently. As an old drunkard stopped Ruoxian, and as an old drunkard spoke, Jiyu, Bai Qiu, and the others were also puzzled. They did not understand why an old drunkard did not let Ruoxian pass. At the same time, Xianwang finally noticed an old drunkard. At first, it was slightly suspicious, but then its expression changed drastically. "You, human king?" It originally came for Lin Tian. At this time, it felt the familiar aura of an old drunkard. Its expression changed drastically. It was clearly the aura of a human king. It had seen a human king before, so it could not be wrong about the aura of a human king. Then, it saw Qing Xian at the side and was shocked again. "Saintess of all heavens, how did you?" On the side, the crocodile ancestor was also shocked. Like Xianwang, it had seen the human king and the saintess of all heavens before and clearly remembered their auras. At this time, it saw an old drunkard and Qing Xian. Although the two's appearance was completely different from before, their auras were exactly the same. That was the origin aura. It was absolutely impossible to be wrong. Then, the two people who were shocked couldn't help but look at Lin Tian. "Then, he is your little disciple? The little guy from back then?" Xianwang looked at Lin Tian with shock in its eyes. "P.S. Let's talk about something. I believe many of you have already noticed. Recently, Dragon has adjusted the update time of Shifeng. The 2 chapters of the day are released before 8 a.m. every day. This is so that you can see it immediately when you wake up every day. You don't have to check your phone from time to time to wait for the update of the day. Then let's talk about another thing. In the past 6 months, a lot of things have happened in Dragon's life. Because of the lack of exercise, his physical fitness is quite poor. He has been recuperating with Chinese medicine and exercise for the past 6 months. Therefore, the number of updates in the past 6 months is low and the update time is unstable. Here, I sincerely apologize to everyone. Because of the update problem, there are a lot of unfriendly comments in the book review section. Even many people who read pirated copies of the book came to the book review section to curse. Those words were really unpleasant. Forget it. Dragon won't mention how unpleasant it was. Dragon has been reading, but he didn't respond. Firstly, Dragon has never liked to argue with people. Secondly, and most importantly, the updates in the past 6 months were really not good. Dragon is very regretful about this. After that, there were also some people who were cursing the fact that there were too many realms and that there was no end to the story. Here, Dragon would like to inform everyone that these were all set from the very beginning. The structure of this book was very large, and it naturally involved a lot of realms and regions. It would take a lot of time to finish writing. In addition, to tell everyone the truth, if Dragon finishes this book now and starts a new one, the royalties will definitely be much higher than if he continues to write this book. Moreover, this book has been written until now with more than 6 million words. As more and more things are involved, it will be very tiring and exhausting to write. However, Dragon didn't finish it for no other reason than to write a complete story for everyone to read. If he finishes it now, Dragon feels that he is being irresponsible to the readers. For example, when Dragon wrote his first book, The Immortal God's Tribulation, the subscriptions were in the double digits. There was basically no royalties, but Dragon still insisted on finishing it just to be responsible to the readers who were still reading it. In short, how should I put it? Please read the book rationally and civilly. In life, no one has it easy. Let me tell everyone in advance that next month, Dragon will release 5 chapters a day from the 1st to the 3rd of the month. After that, depending on the situation, I will decide how many chapters one will release. I believe that I will not disappoint everyone. Chapter 23:16. It's really him? Xuanwang's eyes flickered violently as it looked at Lin Tian's back. It had gone to the Human King Valley to challenge the Human King and live there for a while. Naturally, it knew about the Human King's youngest disciple and knew a lot about him. It had seen Lin Tian in this life in the Xianwang Valley of the mysterious ancient macro world and felt that Lin Tian had cultivated all the techniques of Fengshen Tianzuan and the others. It had suspected that Lin Tian was the reincarnation of the Human King's youngest disciple, but because it didn't sense any familiar aura, it denied that conjecture. But now, seeing that an old drunkard, the Human King, Qing Xian, the Saintess of all heavens, and Fengshen Tianzuan and the others were here, it was clear that they had all come for Lin Tian. It had guessed correctly when it first saw Lin Tian. Lin Tian was the Human King's youngest disciple. When its words sounded, the amount of information contained within immediately made by Qiu, Jiyu, Shuiyi, Su Shu, Lin Shi, Violet Fairy, Yin Yimmer, Bai Ziki, Fan Ing Xiong and the others, as well as immortal courts of mortal generals. All of them were greatly shocked. Lin Tian was the reincarnation of the Human King's youngest disciple. An old drunkard was the legendary, invincible Human King. Qing Xian was the legendary Taoist companion of the Human King, the Saintess of all heavens. Everyone was aghast at this moment, completely stunned by Xuanwang's words. Only a few people, such as the little Taichu and the White Tiger, who had known about this long ago, didn't change their expressions. Their gazes were still on Lin Tian. "Grandmaster, let me go." Being stopped by an old drunkard, Ruoxian refused to comply. "I want to go." When she was in the illusory Flame Star Sea, she knew her father's real identity and an old drunkard's real identity. She wasn't surprised at all. She just wanted to go to her father. Hearing her voice, Ji Yu and the others, who were shocked by Lin Tian's true identity and an old drunkard's true identity, immediately regained their senses and looked at Lin Tian again. They were no longer shocked by Lin Tian's true identity, an old drunkard's true identity, and Qing Xian's true identity. They were only worried about Lin Tian at this moment. Now Lin Tian's mental state looked very bad. "Let me pass. Let me go to Grandmaster." Ruoxian's voice rang out again, trying to break through an old drunkard's obstruction. It was also at this time that the space beside her trembled slightly. Wu Yi acted, and the formless space laws pulled her back to his side. "Let's go back," she said softly. However, her gaze was still on Lin Tian. Her gaze had always been calm, but it was constantly fluctuating. She controlled the space laws, and space was her weapon and her eyes. At this moment, even though Lin Tian's back was facing them, his back was facing everyone, she could clearly see Lin Tian's tears flowing down. Therefore, she knew that Lin Tian didn't turn around at this time because he didn't want them to see her crying. She also wanted to go to Lin Tian's side. She really wanted to, but since she sensed that Lin Tian didn't want them to see her crying, she could only suppress this thought. A man didn't want his wife and daughter to see him cry. He didn't want his wife and daughter to see his weak side. She understood. Why? Ruoxian didn't understand. Let's go back, Wu Yi said very softly. She took one last look at Lin Tian's back and pulled Ruoxian out of spirit realm. She didn't care about an old drunkard and the others from the beginning to the end. She didn't only say go back to Ruoxian, but also to Bai Qiu, Jiyu, and the others. Jiyu, Bai Qiu, Sushu, Shui Yi, Lin Shi, and the Violet Fairy all looked worried and anxious. Like Ruoxian, they wanted to rush to Lin Tian's side. However, when they saw Wu Yi's reaction, they paused and looked at Lin Tian's back. In the end, they retreated with Wu Yi. Like Ruoxian, they all looked back every 3 steps and walked out of spirit realm. At the same time, Bai Ziki and the others and the immortal generals paused for a moment before retreating out of spirit realm together. What a good girl! Looking at Wu Yi's back, Qing Xian said softly. Lin Tianwei trembled. He wanted to look back at Wu Yi, Ruoxian, and the others, but in the end he didn't turn around. An old drunkard looked at him, paused, and said to Qing Xian, "Let's go, let him be alone." At the same time, he called Fengshen Tianzuan and the others to leave with him. In the blink of an eye, only Lin Tianyi was left in this space. The broken ruins were located in front of him. In Lin Tian's eyes, there were only ruins left. Tears kept falling down. The Ninth Heaven, the main clan of the Immortal Court. Wu Yi had returned to the Immortal Court with Ruoxian. Jiyu, Bai Qiu, Bai Ziki, Fanning Xiong, Xin Huang, Crocodile Ancestor, and the Immortal Generals of the Immortal Court had all returned to the Immortal Court. At the same time, Fengshen Tianzuan, Celestial Venerable Primal Chaos, Celestial Venerable Solar, Celestial Venerable Zong Long, Celestial Venerable Taiyin, Ao Jian Tianzuan, Celestial Venerable Daoran, Formation Sovereign, and Medicine Sovereign also came to the Immortal Court together. Everyone was in the martial arts arena of the Immortal Court. Martial Uncle, what happened to Father back then? Ruoxian asked Heavenly God Bestowment and the others. Great God, he has recovered his memory. Now, can you tell us? White Tiger also spoke, looking at Fengshen Tianzuan. Around them, everyone in this place looked at Fengshen Tianzuan and the others at this time. Even Wu Yi was no exception. Fengshen Tianzuan looked in the direction of the spirit domain where Lin Tian was now and nodded. When little junior brother was still an infant, he was picked up by the old patriarch of a small mortal tribe in the nearby mountains and brought back to the small tribe to raise him. The small tribe had more than 100 families, and the old patriarch was over 70 years old. He had no children, so he treated little junior brother as his own and took good care of him. Although the other people in the tribe knew that little junior brother was picked up from the outside, the simple life of ordinary farmers made everyone, like the old patriarch, treat little junior brother very well. In the small tribe, little junior brother really drank the milk of hundreds of families and ate the rice of hundreds of families. Although he didn't have parents, there were people who doted on him, loved him, and had playmates. Until one day, a dozen people came from afar. Because they didn't want to take a detour, they mercilessly destroyed the tribe. Everyone in the small tribe suffered because of this. Little junior brother just happened to be herding sheep on the grasslands not far from the tribe at that time, so he avoided the disaster. It was also because of this that he saw with his own eyes that the old patriarch who raised him, the uncle and aunt who doted on him, the playmates who grew up happily with him, turned into a bloody mist in that instant. Fengshen Tianzuan took a deep breath and said, that year, little junior brother was 5 years old. That day, little junior brother lost everything. Ruoxian, Jiyu, Bai Qiu, Shui Yi, and Sushu couldn't help but tremble violently, their expressions changing drastically. At the same time, little Taichu, White Tiger, whooshing crocodile, and the others' expressions changed greatly. Even Wu Yi was no exception at this moment, her gaze fluctuating violently. Affected by her emotional fluctuations, the space around her started to distort. Damn it! Damn it! Some immortal general's eyes turned red. That kind of thing was equivalent to the extermination of an entire clan. Back then, their leader had endured such a thing when she was only 5 years old. Who were those dozen people? They were all from the Celestial Court, right? Ruoxian clenched her fists, tears gushing out of her beautiful eyes. When she was in the illusory flame star ocean, her father suddenly turned into a demon. At that time, she learned that her father was the youngest disciple of the human king and that there was a deep hatred between her father and the Celestial Court. However, she had never thought that it was such an irreconcilable hatred. Back then, the Celestial Court had done such a thing to her father. The master of the Celestial Court, Luanhui King, the 9 divine guards, the patriarchs of the Hades bloodline, the 9 serenities bloodline, the Yellow Spring bloodline, and the Rakshasa bloodline. Fengshen Tianzuan said, at that time, they followed Luanhui King into the primordial universe. They seemed to want to find something in this universe, but in the end, it was to no avail. The Xianming who appeared in the illusory flame star ocean was one of the 9 divine guards of Luanhui King. He was killed by Master. Empyrean roving sword continued Empyrean divine seal's words. Another one of the 9 divine guards was suppressed by Honorable Master before the junior apprentice brother entered Samsara. His divine soul was extracted and used to nourish the junior apprentice brother's source memories. That's because, unlike the soul, when memories leave a person's body, they need to be nourished by powerful soul energy in order to be preserved. Master extracted youngest junior martial brother's original memories and used the divine guard's soul energy to nourish and preserve them. This is so that youngest junior martial brother can rely on this original memory to recall everything that happened in the past after he reincarnated. Junior brother's reincarnation was different from a simple reincarnation. Only in this way could he truly remember the past. He continued, back then, Master left the divine guard's consciousness so that his soul could nourish junior brother's original memory. At the same time, he also made him face the ruins of the tribe that junior brother had moved to in the spirit domain, so that he could repent in front of the ruins of the tribe at every moment. Not long ago, after junior brother saw Xianming turn into a demon in the illusory flame star ocean, Master erased his consciousness. Back then, the 9 of them only knew that their junior brother had an irreconcilable feud with the Celestial Court, but they didn't know who in the Celestial Court he had a grudge against. An old drunkard had told him some other things at the same time. His tribe was destroyed. The old patriarch who raised him, his aunt and uncle who loved him, his playmates who grew up with him, everyone was dead. From that day on, junior brother was filled with hatred. By chance, he met Master who had left the Human King Valley. He became Master's disciple and embarked on the path of cultivation. Solar Celestial Master said, junior brother's talent wasn't very good back then, but for revenge, he endured any hardship. As long as he could become stronger, as long as it didn't violate his morals, he would learn and do anything. During those years, little junior brother's cultivation was almost like torturing and abusing himself. As he said this, he seemed to recall the scenes of the past. This Solar Celestial Master, whose name shook the 10 Directions Celestial Master, couldn't help but clench his fists. Beside him, Celestial Master Zonglong, Celestial Master Darren, Celestial Master Taiyin, and the other senior brothers were also like Solar Celestial Master. Father, Ruoxian shed tears and choked with sobs. After listening to Fengshen Tianzuan and the others, her heart was filled with hatred for Luanhui Wang and the others. She also felt heartache for her father. Her father, who had always doted on her, had shouldered such hatred since she was 5 years old. Since then, he had been cultivating in a torturous and self-abusing way just for revenge. How much had her father suffered in those years? Damn it, damn it, damn it. Whooshing Crocodile, Little Taichu, White Tiger, Yi Tong, Little Fox, and the others were furious to the extreme. After listening to Lin Tian's past, their eyes turned red. The immortal generals of the celestial court were also furious. Their leader, who treated them as his friends, actually encountered such a thing. At this moment, they couldn't wait to rush to the celestial court's headquarters and chop Luanhui Wang and the others into mincemeat. Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, Ling Yun, Fanning Xiong, Black Dragon, and the others clenched their fists. Killing intense surged in their eyes. Lin, Lord Brother, Master, Jiyu, Bai Qiu, Shui Yi, Su Shu, Lin Shi, Yinyer, Violet Fairy, Ziyu, Yi Tong, and Little Fox couldn't help but have tears in their eyes. Wu Yi didn't say anything from the beginning to the end, but her emotions were fluctuating even more. The space around her collapsed inch by inch, and the entire celestial court was shaken. In this place, the sky instantly darkened. Lightning interweaved in the sky, and the 3,000 great Tao trembled. Mother, Sister Wu Yi, Lord Wu Yi. Everyone looked at Wu Yi. However, at this moment, no one was shocked by the terrifying aura that Wu Yi emitted due to his emotional fluctuations. There was only a deep sense of sadness, and there was only anger for Lin Tian. In the ninth heaven, under the heavenly pit, inside the spiritual domain, Lin Tian knelt in front of the ruins. Only the ruins were left in his eyes. Vaguely, familiar faces appeared in the ruins, waving at him and smiling at him. Tears fell like a kite with a broken string. Buzz! Outside his body, the reincarnation light interweaved, and his aura continued to climb. The soul energy wrapped around his memories rushed into his body. The soul energy was too strong, and it constantly integrated into his flesh and blood. In addition, because he comprehended the nameless reincarnation Tao, the reincarnation light and the reincarnation aura appeared in his body. The reincarnation light completely bloomed at this moment, causing his essence, energy, and soul to skyrocket. At this time, his cultivation base had reached the middle stage of the soul transformation realm, and it was still climbing. The reincarnation light became stronger and stronger as his cultivation base rose. Around him, the heavenly Tao surrounded him, and with him as the center, it seemed to have a consciousness of fear, like a servant bowing down in worship. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.